Paul, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Chris can hear us.
But if you click on the 3 dots.
It's the last one.
Yeah.
7.
Okay. So in 2024, a zoning hearing board application was submitted for 354 Sugartown to utilize a garage as a short-term rental unit. That is not permitted in the area, the district that this house is situated on. Therefore, they have to go and request a variance to permit short-term lodging on their residence.
So I heard.
Paul, can you hear us? Yeah. I don't know if it's a bad connection or what's going on.
Participants. All right, do you have anything to say about it? Or?
Yeah.
The commission's option, I would only note that, you were in receipt of this letter dated June 9th through Colleen. Suggesting from the township solicitor to Stacy Fuller, who is the zoning solicitor, expressing that the township opposes this application. It would be at the board's discretion. You could postpone this item for later in the meeting. The applicant is available, or you could simply move on to other business. It's up to you.
We'll just table this for until the end of the meeting. And then we'll take care of it. That.
Yeah, if the
Yeah.
planning commission.
All right, we're gonna table that for a few minutes. Let's move on. Zoning hearing board application
I
675.
have a question about that. Is anybody here from the audience that wants to speak on that? About this?
Let's do zoning hearing board application 675, 1307 Argyle Road. Anybody here?
Right here. My wife and I are looking for a variance in 2 different areas. One is on the back deck and one is to connect the house to the garage. The hopes to build a living space up above the garage for my daughter. She's had 3 traumatic brain injuries. Last one was in April. She got hit by a car as a pedestrian. Sorry.
You want me to explain? Yeah. So, the property owners here are requesting relief to encroach into the rear yard setback area. It's a bit difficult to understand because the plan is, just a site plan. It's not a building plan to understand exactly what's going on. However, it appears that they're going to remove existing structures such as a deck, what is indicated as a breezeway on this plan, but is not connected to the garage. It's currently a detached garage and other areas. And what they want to propose is a patio in the rear, a covered patio that would encroach in the rear yard. So it'll be from the rear yard, which is typically 40 feet, it will go 22.1. And then they will connect the detached garage to the principal dwelling with a breezeway. And they are proposing to put a second story on the existing garage with a balcony deck, which will encroach in the rear yard approximately 20 feet. So they are requesting a variance to encroach in the rear yard as well as a special exception because they are increasing an existing nonconformity. They are increasing the footprint of an existing nonconformity, therefore they need a special exception.
So I have a question, it looks like the decking you're taking off, was I correct in understanding you're gonna replace that with just a patio?
No,
No, okay.
actually, that's gonna be underneath that structure, the deck, okay? Back in the sixties when it was built, there is a slab, okay, which is underneath the deck. It's been existing ever since, all right? When we purchased the house, there was a deck on top, all right? When we bought it, we replaced the deck on top. Our hopes now is to, again, keep the deck and move it out a little bit and actually add a roof, okay, over that as a closed outdoor area in which myself and my daughter can enjoy.
Sure. So it looks like, I'm looking at this right, are you decreasing the impervious?
Yes, we are.
That's what it looks like,
Mhm,
okay,
yeah,
that's
we
what I'm
are.
asking, and then
Yep.
the breezeway that's shown here, although you said it's detached, but
Okay.
it's almost there.
Here's what I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah,
It's 1 inch.
no, I understand.
Yeah, 1 inch gap between the breezeway and the house. That's where we did it originally. Okay, so we're asking for that to be able to be
So
connected.
you want to connect it
I
and
want-
then just enclose it, but it's not getting bigger.
It's not getting bigger. No, it's the same size. The garage is already set. The garage is not moving. The house is not moving. Okay, so all the distances stay the same. The
Yeah.
breezeway is there. It's already there. Okay, it's only not attached by 1 inch because at that time, we worked with Gene Williams and he said, listen, just keep an inch. Keep an inch gap. We can solve it very easily for you. And that's what we did. Okay, because of her condition, she can't smell or taste. So.
So then the deck is a second floor deck.
It's a walkout, same as it exists now. There's
I'm
no
saying,
change to
sorry,
that.
second floor deck off of the garage.
That's correct, ma'am.
That'll be off the
That's-
second floor, and
that's
you're
correct,
putting, I looked at it on, Google Earth, and it
Mhm.
looks, so you're putting the second floor addition on the garage.
Correct.
And then that'll have an outdoor space to sit.
A little bit,
Directly
which is
off
going to
of-
be a deck with space in it too. We're very, very conscious to impervious ground, the water problem in this township, trust me,
Sure.
okay? And so that's one of the reasons that with the deck outside, keeping the space included, that would be lovely for her.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Questions, comments?
Just that. It's an existing non-conforming because of the rear yard setback, right? And then Colleen, it's a question for you, that any improvements on top of the garage footprint wouldn't require a variance, right? It's just that it's changing the footprint.
So if they were to. So for an existing non-conforming structure, you can build up,
Yeah, that was.
but you cannot build out. Right? You can't increase the existing non-conformity.
Yep.
So when this structure was built back in 2000, the detached garage was not a non-conforming structure. It was constructed per the current code at that time. So in 2000, an accessory structure only had to be a minimum of 20 feet from lot lines. So going off of current code, an accessory structure such as a detached garage has to be within your building envelope, which is 40 feet. And then when you attach your detached garage to your principal dwelling, it definitely has to be in the building setback.
But the
That's
primary,
why, yeah,
the
so,
primary is existing non-conforming too, right?
yes,
yeah,
that is correct,
so-
because the back of the dwelling is within your rear yard setback.
And does a second floor balcony that comes out of the structure, but you've got a whole first floor underneath it and gardens or whatever, does that count as impervious?
It doesn't count as impervious because it's slotted,
Okay, fine.
right? However, it needs relief because when you have a deck that is 30 inches or higher, it has to be within your building envelope.
Okay.
Therefore, And the reason, they went in front of the zoning hearing board in 2000 was because of the breezeway. They wanted to connect the breezeway to the garage. However, they got denied because if you connected the garage, it would become part of your principal dwelling. Therefore, you're creating a non.
Okay. But part of the problem is large part of the house is in the setback anyway. Mm.
Do you have anything?
I don't know what she's doing.
Chris, do you have anything?
Nope.
Make a motion for it.
May I be heard? Yeah. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Fred Tom. I'm an attorney. I represent the adjoining owners at 4211. If you just zoom out a little bit on the plan, their names here.
Sorry.
They're there, the Stephen and Donna Kramer, and their home is at 442 Leopard Faces Leopard Road. So if we come back to the existing plan, I'm here tonight because our clients have a lot of questions and concerns with what is proposed and trying to determine what their position is. I mean, if we looked at the application, they called for a two-story addition that connected what is the garage and accessory building and the principal building. What's interesting here is it's complicated, unfortunately, but you have the existing building and you have the closest portion corner of the existing building up all 29 feet from the rear property line. And in the year 2000, there's filed an application before the zoning board seeking variance to be able to connect a proposed attached garage, which they wound up building. And they were denied that application by the zoning board on the basis that the garage then would become part of the principal building and would have to be principal building setback. The accessory building setback at the time was less, it was only 20 feet. It's since been increased to 40 feet. So what you have on the property at the moment is a house that is not conforming to the rear yard setback at 29 feet. You've got an accessory building that is not conforming, and I think it's around 25 feet. If you were to connect that accessory building, it would violate that 29-foot setback that is applicable to the principal dwelling because you would be converting it into a principal building. And one of the things we were not clear from the application is where exactly is the two-story addition going that is going to connect these? It's not shown on the plan. The only thing that is shown on the plan is the to be removed areas, and there is a little square addition in that area that is also shown. But if in fact the two-story addition is intended to connect the two, additional relief is required because you'd create a nonconformity. Absent a variance, you'd create an additional nonconformity because this garage is only permitted to be within 25 feet because it's an accessory building. If it were a principal building, it would need to maintain that larger nonconformity setback of 29 feet. So there is that question as to what is the degree of the variance. When you look at the application as written seeks a variance from the side yard setback, not the rear yard setback, which kind of is misleading because side yard setbacks 20 feet really don't need a variance if it were the side yard, but it is the rear yard. It's a corner lot, and the code defines the rear yard on a corner lot as the yard that is opposite the front door of the house, and the front door of the house faces our house. So it is, these are shown correctly with the 40-foot rear yard being on that side, the
25 or 20-foot side yard being shown there. But as we stand here tonight, we don't know where this two-story addition is going over exactly what is it going? How will it be connected? Presumably, it will connect that garage. Presumably, that garage will become part of the principal building, which would, in my view, expand the nature of the variance that is requested. I really think it would be helpful as we approach the zoning hearing to be able to have a plan that we could understand going into the hearing and knowing whether we have a concern or whether we're opposed or whether there's a way to improve the plan. At this point, we're a little bit at a loss to know exactly what our position is, other than I don't think it is, if it is advertised as written, I think there may be some concern about whether there's a defect in the advertisement of the relief that is being requested. So I raise those concerns as you consider what recommendation you're going to make to the zoning.
Do you have plans for what you intend to build in here? Like, are you in the process?
We are working with an architect. Before we get too far, we have to go through you. Okay, and that's the process. So this first step, okay. I'll be truthful. I don't need anything over top that garage. My daughter. I don't need. Okay,
What's on the second
I'm
floor
sorry.
of the garage now?
it's storage.
Just storage, but it's like an angle group.
It's an angle, no, I mean, I'm
We
sorry.
plan to try to go up like a full second floor.
It's gonna keep the same pitch, it's gonna comply with the township rules as far as how high the roof can be on that kind of structure, all right? And it's gotta conform to everything that you folks have said here. It's the architect, she knows the plan, she knows what it is, it's not gonna be square, it's not gonna be big and bulky, it's gonna have the same type of roof. As the house does, I mean, we're trying to make this to be beautiful. This is our end house. This is where we're gonna die. Okay? I'm making it so I got floors downstairs, got bedrooms downstairs. We go through this with my parents. And I'm forget it.
Sure.
Yep.
Colleen, do you have something to say about the setbacks?
The gentleman indicated that the application said side, it was a typo. It's just a typo.
Yeah.
It says rear, on the plan itself, and the dimensions are correct per the code for, a corner lot.
And whoever you're working with right now
Yes.
is advised you that this is what you need to be able to build this project. You're not gonna. It's not in flux where you might need to come back for other requests or.
No, sir, no.
There's a
No,
piece of
no.
what you-
Once we set it, it's set, and really, it just comes down to that. I gotta, it's making her a part of it.
Yeah.
And because of her health.
I got it.
Gotcha. Come on.
I think it is a fair question what the footprint of the connector would be.
Mhm.
I interpreted the dark lines as being. I interpreted the hash as being what's removed and the dark line to be the footprint of the connection. Is that accurate, or is it that you're not sure yet what that footprint of that connection
I'm
would be?
going, my architect and also Nick, who
Yeah.
is the engineer, okay, Martha Wheatrock, they've been working together, okay? So they have this down, okay? They know my concerns of what we were up against when we first did it. And coming on this one, when Nick took a look at me, and also Colleen was nice enough to say, listen, your house doesn't conform anymore. All right, and I'm like, well, geez, what do you do in that situation? That seems kind of crazy. Well, it is, but we're not increasing the impervious. We're bumping out maybe a little bit on the deck, okay? And the connection is the connection, all right? Can I visualize you and show you what the connection looks like right now? No, because I need to know I can do it. Okay, before I start spending money on somebody.
I totally understand that, I guess, but I think that the question is, how much is that connection going to
How large it?
have, just. The variance you're asking for is, you're gonna have, you're gonna attach the secondary, the garage to the house.
Mhm.
The house is already non-existing, non-conforming with that setback.
Correct.
And it appears to me on this plan that you're not. If you're not asking for that setback to get any smaller, that 22 feet. Is already the existing non-conforming setback, this 22.1.
Correct.
That was my interpretation, and when we were discussing it earlier, so I just want to make sure that's accurate.
I am going to go by what
What's-
Nick has provided for you and through the amount of time that we have spent on this. And also, I know that he has helped with Colleen a lot, so. This is not my wheelhouse.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know I needed an attorney, okay, all right, I would have brought one if I needed one, but at this point in time, I was just kind of like, it was just one of those. You know, Nick said, listen, this is not a big deal, that's what I was told to me, okay, and that's kind of where I've headed with this.
I'm asking these clarifying questions in response to the questions we got from your neighbor, that's all, so just want to make sure we're.
Nope.
Illuminating it, I totally understand
Yep.
where you're coming from.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I just asked a simple question. It was not conforming when they built it, right? The garage was there. So I mean, if they approved it then, I mean, if they asked when they connected, I don't know.
I think it changes the definition. of
I know it does. I mean,
That's-
the township let them do it, you know.
But I do think
This
some of
is
those are
kind
good
of unfair.
questions that you're gonna need to be able to answer for your neighbors and for the zoning board.
Oh, I
Is,
agree.
will the connection be like filling in an inch between the two and now it'll be connected?
Correct.
Or are you taking that off and making a bigger roof line?
Mhm.
And then the second floor, are your walls gonna extend up another 7 or 8 feet to become a second floor? Or are you gonna take your existing roof line and just like pop up your roof in the back? So that helps your neighbors understand better what you're doing too.
So-
And I think even though you have, I think you need to, my opinion would be that it'd be good to spend even just a little bit of money to have a very rough sketch so that someone can visualize what your plans are. And then that way,
I can
it
bring,
helps
I
everybody
can
be-
bring that to the township meeting, okay, of the zoning board.
maybe
And also
neighbors.
Nick
Yeah.
is going to come with me and to be able to explain,
Sure.
okay, where we lie with this.
Yep.
And I will have a rendering, okay, a front rendering, okay, if you will. I don't know if we're gonna be able to show all the details of how this is going to connect. But you will see a front rendering of the property and what it will look like, if that would be suitable.
I think any more information that you can show that gives you a little more 3D is gonna help your neighbor feel
Okay.
comfortable and help the township boards, us and for zoning better understand how de minimis, how large this project is.
Understand?
I'm gonna make a motion to the variance requested under section 455-14.a for the rear yard setback, right?
Rear yard setback and they need a
And
special
And
exception.
also the special exception under section 455-123 parentheses, right?
One second.
Seconded by Stacy. Is there any public comment? Anybody online?
Nobody.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Chris? Okay, carries by nothing. I appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
I do.
Okay, next item on the agenda is land development for Delaware County Christian School.
I'm just gonna move up here so you guys can see me a little better.
But good evening, my name is Dan Rowley, here tonight representing Delaware County Christian School in connection with our preliminary final land development application. The school is located at 905 South Waterloo Road, right up the road here in this township. As I mentioned, it's the campus for Delaware County Christian School. It's an educational institution that provides education for pre-K through 12 college preparatory. This property, it's not on the screen, but this property that's the subject of this application is for schooling for 2-year-olds through 5th grade. It's a little over 30 acres gross in size. And contains academic buildings, athletic facilities, field, parking, driveways, and some other related improvements. It's also located in the AA residential district. So just an overview of what we're proposing. We are proposing to construct a little over 2,000 square foot, 1-story building addition, a 1,640 square foot building addition, a 2,400 square foot pavilion, and an additional parking area, and then some other related improvements. So going through that list, there's 2 additions to existing buildings. One of the additions is to expand the existing gymnasium. The current gym is an older building. This is going to provide some additional space. It's also going to allow for the updating and upgrading of HVAC systems. There is currently no AC in the gym and there's limited heat in there. So this will provide for that. The second building addition proposes to add a 2nd floor to an existing 1-story portion of the building. This area will primarily be used for storage and some additional space for the school's employees and students. There is a proposed pavilion towards the rear of the campus. This is going to provide additional usable outdoor area for the existing student body. It will essentially be a roofed area with picnic tables underneath, which will allow students, the ability to have lunch outside occasionally or class outside if the weather permits. We are also proposing to add 31 additional parking spaces to the campus. This includes 21 parking spaces in a new parking area. It's towards the upper middle of the screen, towards the property line. It's the eastern property line. And then 10 additional parking spaces utilizing some underutilized portions of the existing parking lots on the campus. So the campus as it currently sits is parking deficient under code by 25 spaces. So it's not code compliant to parking. It's not conforming to that. So this project will make the property code compliant with the required parking for an education. We are anticipating constructing the project in 2 phases. The first phase would be the pavilion and the parking area, the new parking areas. And then the second phase of this project would be for the building districts. You may be somewhat familiar with this project. We are in front of you for the first time back in February as part of the tentative sketch land development application. And then we were next in front of you in March, I believe, for our zoning hearing board application. This commission recommended approval of our variance relief for impervious coverage from the zoning hearing board. Then in May, we were in front of the zoning hearing board and they granted our impervious coverage variance of 17.45% of the property in connection with the project. So tonight, as I mentioned, we're here for preliminary land development review. And we're requesting a recommendation of approval from the commission tonight. We have 4 waivers that we're requesting. I'd like to spend a minute to walk through those with you. And then I'll kind of turn it back to you to go through any comments, questions you may have, either in regards to the project overall or the review letters. So the first waiver is a waiver from code 400-25A, and this is to not require a traffic impact study. As a result of this project, there's going to be no increase in the existing employee student body count. There's no change in traffic or traffic patterns as a result of the project. project is only intended to serve the existing student body and employees. And the township traffic engineer, I will note, did support this waiver in comment 2 of his review letter. And that's consistent with what we put in front of the zoning hearing board and testified to.
Can I stop you right there? Is there,
Sure.
does Delta Christian do summer camp at the facility?
So I have Dan Steinfeld and Jake Godino from
Okay.
the school. They're gonna be able to sit down a little bit.
Okay. We can, I mean, we can get into that later, but if it's yes, then.
Yes.
Yes.
Alright, what's the next one?
Sure. So next one is a waiver from code section 388-16C3 and 388-25B8H. And this is a plan requirement to show all existing trees and vegetation on plans. This is a pretty heavily wooded property. It's over 30 acres in size. A lot of it is wooded. And we're minimizing any disturbance to the existing trees on the property. So we're requesting a waiver from that. Number 3 is from code section 400-41. This is for a sidewalk along Waterloo Road. There is not any sidewalk currently along this area of Waterloo Road, either on our property or any of the surrounding properties. And we don't believe a sidewalk in this area is necessary or really helpful. We're proposing to pay a fee in lieu of the required sidewalk. And I will note that the traffic review letter notes that this is not a priority location for pedestrian or bicycle facilities. And then the final waiver is from code 274-43K1A. And that's to provide a minimum 10-foot wide planting strip to be provided along the perimeter of parking features. And maybe if you zoom into the new parking area, I think I can walk you through why we're requesting this one. All right, so that is the new 21 space parking area along that property line, that eastern property line. The other side of that property line is a private reserve. It's deed restricted, it's heavily wooded. The way this is designed is that there's the parking lot, there's a retaining wall, there's a little strip of land, and then there's the property line with the reserve. So if we installed that landscaping, it's really going to be hidden behind the retaining wall and in front of basically the woods. So we don't feel like it's good planning design to have that over there. So what we've done is we've taken the plantings that would be in that strip and just distributed them to other areas of the property that I think make more sense. Yeah, so in terms of we're providing the quantity, but just not in that location. So those are the 4 measures of relief we're seeking. So I have with me, as I mentioned, Dan Steinfeld, Jake Godino, they're with the school, and Joe Mongaluzzi is the civil engineer for the project. The review letters are pretty straightforward. It's a lot of plan notations and some cleanup items and things like that. But I'll turn it back to the commission to any questions, whether you want to go through some specific comments or not.
Anybody have any questions, comments?
I mean, I can tell you what I think about all 4 of those things.
Go ahead.
I have no problem with the no traffic study. I have no problem with not showing existing trees on a heavily wooded lot. I have no problem moving plantings away from and distributing it on the lot, so it's beautiful. The only thing I have a problem with is sidewalks, and the reason why I do is because our township has traditionally done an in lieu of fee for sidewalks. The issue is, as a developer, I have built sidewalks 20 years ago that are only now getting connected. But the fact is that they need to eventually get connected, and people are going to want to have sidewalks. And I think when we've talked in our meetings here, we're talking about connecting some of relationship neighborhoods over here so they can walk and get to this community, and you're really not that far over there. So potentially someone may want to walk across the street on there closer to the school and walk up and go to that nature preserve. I think that my opinion, and I can be, everyone else can not agree, but I do think that sidewalks are important. And I don't support a fee in lieu of. Because someday there will be sidewalks.
I think the idea of the fee in lieu is that we then take that money to build sidewalks in a higher priority.
Understood?
Located
I
the way it's
understand
used
that.
Today, yeah,
But-
and it's as opposed to building one that eventually will get used.
I
I hear where
have
you're
built
coming from,
many
but
sidewalks to nowhere.
yeah, I understand.
And now they're finally going to somewhere. But my point is that they never get built if we don't do something.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
So.
Sorry.
I think to. The point, the Rosa plans, the Rosa document does have. Location where they want to have future sidewalks.
Sure.
I don't know if this is.
No, I understand all of that, and well, I think I qualified it that way. That's my opinion,
Sure.
and you guys may not agree and say you're okay with the fee in lieu of, and that's totally fine, I'm just.
Yes.
That's the only one I can't, in my heart, support, only because I've been there and I know it, I get it, I get what you're trying to do.
I
Understood.
guess it'd be from the bridge over the creek, but what would the linear footage be and where would you have to build it if you did have to build it?
I'll have Joe Mondeluzzi tackle the linear feet and the numbers. I will just note that the front of this property, I'm not sure you can see it on this plan. But the frontage along Waterloo is pretty small despite the fairly large size of the property when you move back. So not only would it be a sidewalk to nowhere, but it would be pretty small sidewalk to nowhere. There are some curves in that road as well, so I'm not sure we necessarily want to encourage that. And again, as was noted by some of the planning commission members, we would be providing, say,
I understand.
where the
And
sidewalk.
listen, I appreciate that too.
Understood. No, I'm just trying to address.
Yeah, I think stays with that, if it helps. There's a bridge over Darby Creek in between where this would get built and where. I think where the access to that preserve is on the other side of the creek. There's the street view of the condition of the house, but
I drive by it all the time,
Yeah,
I know it, I know it
You
really
know, yeah,
well.
There's nobody, there's students.
If maybe one of the school members would know, the answer to that.
Yeah, we have no students who walk. We have one family that is graduated out of that school, but lives in that development right there. It's Castle Rock. But
Castle Hill.
Castle Hill, but we have no students who walk this.
Do people ever park in the parking lot at the school and walk over to the curb? Could we create a path so that they could do that?
If we have a partnership with Kevin Freiberger and the Waterloo Mills Preserve, and our students do research for him, and we have a gate connected from our property to his property. That. property.
Right.
Yes.
So
So you could walk.
could the public use that?
Yeah, I think to answer your question, we would certainly be open to considering that. We'd have to see if Kevin would support that. We
Yeah.
built a really good relationship with him. There's high trust with our students going over. And then we would have to just work out school security. I mean, that would be my major concern as the head of school, that it's not just free for all park and your walk, because you'd have to walk through our playground to get that. So, but there are answers to all that, and we would be willing to engage in that, but it would take some time.
Yeah, and the only other thing I'll add to Dan's comment is, timing and things like that would have to be worked out because parking is at a premium. That's why we're for sure putting in these parking spaces. It's tight parking wise. So we wouldn't wanna, give up any spots during
School hours.
school usage, school
Put on a
hours.
Saturday or Sunday, and then the school's not in.
I have a question regarding the Roman's comments for comment 7, what's the general comments, Chris, you mentioned about looking into upgrading or replacing the existing warning device. Yes. You can have a good response and something property. What is the typical ownership of equipment? Is it by the school?
Typically, in almost all cases, the township, traffic, signal. It's not a traffic signal, it's a flashing signal.
two overhead mast arms on either side of the driveway. A diamond yellow sign. School crossing or school driveway, not sure, and then weed wag, yellow lights. It's pretty old, it's outdated, doesn't meet today's standards. It's an opportunity to bring it up to today's standards if township felt as though approved. Even though it is permitted by PennDOT, I believe that this is holds true with almost every other flashing warning device and signal in the state. It's probably owned by the township.
So much confusion.
Owned and maintained by the township and that's it.
And it is operating.
Correct.
But every signal is owned and maintained by a township. Even those that serve private property, shopping centers, schools. So that flashing warning device is there for one reason. It's there because of the school.
And what is your opinion based to the response?
So we're actually putting together a response letter right now. So we have not completed a review of the current submission. But the response doesn't really hold a lot of water. It's really up to the township and whether or not they feel it should be upgraded. What's out there today probably was fine at the time, but it's substandard in terms of pole, mast arm, foundation, LED lights, such as traditional incandescent lights. So, being upgraded would be a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking on street view or whatever, the date is here, 2024, the actual string pole looks like it's in decent shape, but, the wig wag and the sign is outdated. Changing it to LED would make you save some power bill, obviously. Could be some upgrade, maybe not the full upgrade.
Yeah, in putting together our response to the current submission, we were gonna maybe do a little bit more detailed review of where it's efficient and maybe where the opportunities are for upgrades. So whether it's everything or select elements of it. Those that we consider.
Okay.
Yeah, and just my response to that, we'll, review the response letter from Bowman when we get it and discuss as a team. But, from my perspective, it's not owned by the school, it's owned by the township. I mean, that's really an off-site traffic improvement that's not permitted to be required under the MPC. The second thing is, it doesn't really bear a relationship to our project. We're not increasing students, we're not increasing employees, we are adding some parking, but that's really just to bring us up to current standards. And it is operational, again.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with the lack of the traffic impact study waiver, the fee waiver. I can go either way on the sidewalk waiver, and I have no problem with planning sure, so that's where I'm, so.
Those the
I
vegetation on the plants.
yeah. The fourth waiver, 274, 43K. But,
The waiver to show all of the trees on the property.
yeah, I said.
Oh, I
know
may
what you
just-
said. Yeah. I'm inclined to grant the waiver, for the fee on the road instead of the sidewalk along the road, just because I do think this is very far down the list of places in the township where we're trying to think about sidewalks or not sidewalks. Extremely far down the list, if this was closer to this major developments, then maybe I'd say, let's go ahead and build a sidewalk, but I think that this isn't really something where, those funds would be spent wisely at this time. So for that reason, I am going to make a motion to grant preliminary land development approval. Preliminary final land development approval Subject to a waiver from section 400-25A for no traffic impact study. Or waiver from section 338-16C rate and 388-25B8H. Requiring plans to show all existing trees. And identify any to be removed, and provide tree protection fencing for trees to remain within or near limits of disturbance. I'm going to also include a waiver for section 400-41 for the requirements of sidewalk on Waterloo, change for fee and road payment. And fourth waiver from section 274-43K1A, requiring the 10-foot wide planting strip along the parking lot. That sound good?
That's a start.
Have a second?
I said.
Anybody on planning for some comment? Is there any public comment? Chris, any comments?
I'm good.
Good, all right. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Formally recuse, because I have a relationship with the commissions.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you,
your
guys. Thank you, guys.
Um. Have we worked out the issue with three portion?
Yeah, they're back online, so, Katie, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you guys. Sorry about the earlier technological issues.
Yeah, we could hear you, we just couldn't unmute it for some reason.
Okay, so Colleen gave us a brief overview of what you're requesting and everything like that. Would you like to expound on that or provide any additional context?
Well, I think that, and by the way, thank you very much for your time and for your patience. And I think from what we heard earlier, there was a summary that was presented that it didn't seem exactly consistent with what our current situation is. So maybe if we could go back and do that again, and then we can comment on that and move forward, it'd be helpful.
Okay.
Do you want me to give the summary or do you want to speak on behalf
Yeah,
of what-
yeah. For example, I think it would just be good to understand what your perspective is, because as an example, we heard the term garage used, which it's not a garage, but if we could hear that, I think that would be helpful.
Well, sure, I can give you.
So Colleen has presented her, what she has to say on behalf of the township. So it's up to you guys to say what you want to say, on behalf of your application, so.
Okay.
So
Well,
what do you think right now?
The situation is that we have, I guess you'd call it a very complex property. And we like to think that in terms of the township and our relationship with them, that they've partnered very well on us when we purchased this property in 2019 to tackle and resolve many of the issues that were there, including catastrophic damage to the main house, the building of additional dwellings, the pool, the stormwater runoff. We've done a lot there. The Act 319 process, which was, as you know, can be very complicated. We've gone through a lot. We filed the zoning hearing board application a year ago. And in doing so, we're looking for a variance on the ability to use that secondary dwelling as a place that we could have visitors come and see the gardens on the property. I would say that the uniqueness of the property is that we have what has been classified as a historical landscape. So we're on register in Washington, D.C. as being a historical landscape for the Olmsted National Foundation. We did not know this until after we bought the property. The additional complications were, we're seeing massive watershed issues. We are a watershed head. We are a riparian buffer. We partnered with Chester County Watershed, with the Red Clay Alliance and others to try to restore this property over the past 6 years. As part of that, in people coming that want to see the property or come to the town for different occasions, we thought it would be a good idea at the time to use the platforms of Airbnb and VRBO to rent it out to help us to offset the costs that we were putting into restoring the property. We're not getting any grant assistance or other assistance to do the work on the property. It is not a significant amount of money. We received a letter from the township informing us that we were not able to do this, and that's why we filed the zoning board application for a variance. We did not, by the way, see anything that we thought was inconsistent with the questions that were asked on that application, including everything in section 6 and section 7. But that is the reason that we're before you today.
My first, my initial response to that is that I understand what you're saying. However, that doesn't really address the reason why we're here right now. Which is that, and the reason we're here right now is because you were operating an additional residence on your property that was being rented out to anybody who wanted to stay there. And your request for the waiver talks about golf professionals staying there, people from lacrosse events, people from the horse show. Can you give
Yes.
a compelling reason why we should grant you the waiver to be able to do that in the AA residential district?
Well, I think a few reasons. One is we're a very unique property. Okay, and when I say that, I don't mean that lightly. I mean, we are the only remaining Olmsted National Historic residence in Easttown. As a matter of fact, I think we're only one of 3 within 3 counties at this point. The other was, as an example, was what is now Umley. That's the first reason. So people actually approach us about coming to stay on our property. We were approached by the PGA. We were approached by the Devon Horse Show. They want to use our property because it's close, but also because I believe that it was used in the past. The family that we purchased the home from, the Canes, they had lived there for 38 years. I believe that it was being used at that time. Don't know, but the reason we're asking for that is the other is that we're an Act 319 property, and our understanding is that we're able to operate a commercial enterprise in support of the renovation of the landscape of the property under 319, which is consistent with that property. So for us to operate and put it out there, and by the way, it's not to everybody. We're incredibly selective on the people that come for the people that come onto property to operate that as a way to offset the revenue that we're putting into the restoration of the riparian buffer and the watershed seemed like a very reasonable request.
And I'll just add too, I mean, the property is just short of 11 acres. And so when someone is staying in our guest house, which is right next to our house, you know, it's completely on our property. So there's no disturbance to anyone else. And as Paul said, we're very selective on who we have stay there. And it usually does center around those specific areas, or as Paul said, people that want to come and just enjoy the beauty of the woods and the gardens.
I guess, I mean, my concern is that, you know, if short-term lodging is not permitted for this resident, for this area, for this type of property, then if this is granted, then I think everybody else would try to seek a very similar variance. So I mean, that's just my concern. Do you have any support letters from any of your neighbors or anything? Support?
Well, I think that your concern in your position is probably very valid, right? And I think we would follow up by saying, go back to the uniqueness of the property. You know that there are very few properties in excess of 10 acres within the township. I think there's only 50 that have ever applied for Act 319. We are the only one that's in addition to being over 10 acres, that's also a National Historic Property. The garage that was referred to earlier is a 2,000 square foot structure, which we lived in for a year and a half, which also includes a 3-car garage below. It was restored from the original property from 100 years ago when it was built in 1926. So this is not the normal situation for a homeowner that's looking to rent out the room above their garage. It is not certainly someone who lives on less than an acre of property, and it's for very specific reasons. As a matter of fact, we have limited it to very specific people at very specific times for that reason. We have taken the advice of and I'd say the input from Colleen in terms of being very careful about what we're doing in terms of how we relate to your codes. But I don't think that you're going to have another property like ours that's going to ask for this type of a variance, certainly with the limitations that we would self-impose, but also agree to with the township. I mean, look, we know this. There are very few areas within the township that are zoned for commercial short-term stay. I think we have one hotel in the entire area, and I'm not even sure that that hotel is on East Town's property, but we understand the concern. Certainly at various times during the year, including the Devon Horse Show or the Fall Classic or the Garden Show, we're at a max. And we feel it's very unfortunate when the horse show contacts us to have people stay here with, with their families, with their horses nearby, with their carriages, that we have to say no, and they go to another township. So they take their business elsewhere. For us, we look at it as we're asking for a very simple offset to the revenue that we're putting into the property. It is a direct investment back into the property to repair the watershed, the pond, the riparian buffer, everything that we've done so far. I think we've been very good partners with the township in, for example, the wastewater management and the stormwater runoff system that we put in when we did the main house renovation. But as Colleen can attest, this has been a 6-year project so far. We're not finished. And I think that I don't think that you're going to find that everybody's going to ask you for this type of an exception. And I do believe that it is very consistent with your master plan document. It's very consistent with the township's focus on preserving historical properties. It's very consistent with the township's focus on the watershed. So I think that we're actually doing a lot to be good partners with the township in restoring this great property.
So why was it that you waited a year to come back to the township and actually go through with the zoning hearing board? Because
Well, we wanted to come back.
hold on, I just would feel a little better if this were a year ago and we were having this conversation, as opposed to waiting a year while you're renting it and pushing off the conversation that needed to be had to make it legal or illegal on your property.
Yeah, and it's a fair question, obviously. And the answer is we didn't wait. The answer is that we had an open permit on our property, which prevented us from coming in front of you because we had to close what the pool contractor and what the inspector were doing on the property before we could do this. So the process of putting it off was simply that we weren't able to come in front of you and had to continue, ask for a continuance until such time as we could make it work. Even today, in trying to get this done by the end of August, we're not even in town. So it's very important to us that we do this. And it's very important to us that we continue to repair and restore this property. We are very sorry that it took this long. Obviously, when we went through this at the very beginning and took the time to fill out the application and to pay the fee, it was because we wanted to expedite it, not wait. But I think, Colleen can probably provide additional comment here because no one has been more patient than she has in rescheduling this. It's that we wanted to get it done, but with the open, uninspected, or whatever final CO on the pool and the surround, we weren't able to do it.
So Colleen, is that true that you cannot file a zoning application if you have an open permit on a property.
That is not 100% true. The situation in this case was they had an open drainage permit for work associated with the swimming pool that they had to close out prior to having their final occupancy document issued. They received that. What was the holdup was the accessory dwelling unit that is situated on their property needs to be permitted. And to have that permitted, they had to close their drainage permit out.
Okay.
So you can request relief from the zoning hearing board at any time. However, if you have an open permit, typically it's an open drainage permit, other permits won't get issued until it's closed out.
Okay.
So we had an open permit.
I just want to clarify something, Paul, you mentioned that, that it's an accessory, dwelling unit and not a garage. Are we talking about on the plan, the box that says garage, is that the dwelling unit we're talking about?
We can't see it.
Yeah, we can't see
the-
your plan. But if there is a square or rectangle that is east of the main building, that's it.
Yeah, it's labeled as garage on your plans.
Right. And as we said, it's not a garage. There is a 3-car garage in the foundation, but it is a 2,000 square foot, 2-story dwelling.
Okay.
All right. My opinion and my stance on this project, on this request, is that the township has very specific requirements in place. And one of those requirements is that short-term lodging is only permitted by conditional use in PBO and BB. And it is not permitted by right or by conditional use in the AA residential district, which is where your property is. So I am going to make a motion that we do not approve the variance requested under section 455-14.a.
May we ask questions first?
Well, the way we do this is I make a motion, we see if we have a second, and then we,
I'll second it.
okay, second by Chris, okay. Is there any public comment? Okay, do you have any comment? Would you like to respond to it?
We do have comment, which is, and it's probably questions too. It's more than just comment. We're just not understanding how, including in reading your master plan document, this is inconsistent with anything that might be a concern for the township. Number two, we would ask, where in the township right now is there any short-term dwelling, if any? Because I don't believe there is any. In reading the master plan document and the Easttown documents, it appears that your last major work on this was in 2018, which was a follow-up to the 2001 document. There's been no consideration in the meantime of anything that approaches acceptability or allowability for anything similar to a VRBO or an Airbnb. It's not mentioned once. It's not mentioned in any minutes of discussion. So we simply say,
Let me just cut you off right there. We specifically have short-term lodging allowed in our zoning ordinance in VB and PBO. Now, just because a property owner in VB or PBO might not have come and tried to get that as a conditional use, doesn't mean that it's not allowed in this township. It is absolutely allowed in this township.
in those areas, right? We get that. We
Absolutely.
understand how it's zoned. And we're simply saying the reason we're asking for the variance is for a very specific reason. And that is, we are trying to divert funds because we believe we're being very good partners with the township and trying to renovate this property, which includes the watershed, the buffer, et cetera. It is a national historic property. It's all coming out of pocket for us. We're not asking for this to be an open property where people of any origin can come here at any time and rent our property. That's not what we're using it for. So I'm not sure exactly why I'm not exactly sure why you're denying it when it doesn't seem to be inconsistent with anything that you put into your master plan.
Just to respond to that, I specifically said why I wasn't in favor of it was because we have it as an allowed use in other districts. And it expressly by the Board of Supervisors adopting a zoning ordinance that said that it's allowed in PBL and VB, that they could have made it a conditional use in AA, and they decided not to. And you guys went, and I understand you're trying to clean this property up. I understand you're trying to make it nicer. I understand you're investing a lot of money into this property. But you guys went, and as far as I understand, we're renting it out on VRBO and Airbnb without even coming and getting approval from the township first. They're trying to get approval from the township to do this first. So it's not allowed use in the AA zoning district. It just isn't, and that's the reason why I made the motion to deny the variance.
But let me just add, I'm sympathetic to some of the things that you're saying in terms of the comp plan and the zoning code, but we're sitting here with a letter from the Board of Supervisors saying that they deliberately zone this way without this allowable, and then it's being done with, and they're opposing it. It's not really our position to state otherwise. I think it's fairly clear cut. I would love to your thoughts to be heard out, and maybe there are improvements to be made to the zoning, but I think just granting a variance, I'm just not comfortable with that. With the ordinance we have and with this letter that we have in front of us.
Well, again, we appreciate your time. And in all fairness, we understand your positions, and look, there's 3 or 4 separate positions being voiced up there. So we get it. And you're trying to protect the township as a whole, not address this to one. Frankly, we just feel that that's the reason for a variance. We believe it makes common sense. We believe it's very consistent with what the township is trying to achieve and what the county is trying to achieve. And frankly, under Act 319, we thought it was allowable. I mean, it specifically is written that we can do a commercial activity in support of Act 319 and what we're doing on the property. So that's why we did it. So if you feel otherwise, that's why you're in those seats behind that desk.
Okay. Well, we've made a motion. It's been seconded. Just gonna check again. Any more public comment? Okay, I'm gonna call for the vote. All those in favor of denying the relief requested under.
Just to be clear, recommending denial.
Recommending denial
Right.
under 455-14.a. Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries under by nothing.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is the Route 30 Complete Streets Initiative Study.
Good evening, Chris Williams with Bowman Consulting. We were last in front of you in May. With me is Chris Lankenau as well. So Randy Waltermeyer was the face of the project, still is the face of the project. He just happens to be on vacation this week. And then also with us is Brian Donovan, who is remote due to personal issue for keeping him home this evening, but he's with us via Zoom. So anyway, we're happy to be with you. We were last in front of you in May. In May, we talked at a very high level about the project, the scope, what we were intending to accomplish. Since then, so I'm not blocking everybody else. So since May, we've done quite a few things. We've completed traffic counts on the corridor. Again, you'll remember we're largely looking at Route 30 through Berwyn from Leopard Road to Lakeside. We've completed traffic counts. We've evaluated crash data. You'll hear later from Chris that we've completed a market analysis. We have completed a survey, we've attended the farmer's market, and we have had great response from the community in terms of feedback about this project. And so really what we're here, we haven't solved anything yet. We're still early in the project. We're not getting into the nuts and bolts in terms of solutions, but we're really just here to give you an update of some of the data that's been gathered so far. And I think what you'll find most interesting for discussion today, because we probably could be here for 2 hours, but I know that's not what you want to spend this evening. You've got other items on the agenda. I think what might be of most interest is some of the feedback that we've received through the survey from the farmers market. And then we can talk a little bit of, well, not a little bit, Chris can talk about the market analysis. So those are probably the biggest pieces of new information. And that survey and that farmers market feedback, a lot of that is really going to help inform the project as we go forward. Again, it's really helpful for us to know what the community thinks about this. So you did receive some information in your packet. I do have some additional information I'm going to hand out to you shortly. The first page is just a summary of the crashes along the corridor. These are reportable crashes. I'm not going to go into any great detail, but you'll see that the size of the circles indicates those locations that have the most crashes, and the most crashes experienced over a 5-year period. We're at Leopard Road at the west end, and then at Lakeside at the east end. They're both unsignalized intersections with slightly skewed orientation, so maybe not entirely surprising that those were also location of crashes. We go to the next slide. So the next slide presents level of service. You've all heard traffic engineers present traffic studies, and they talk about delay and they talk about level of service. So we've completed traffic counts, we've evaluated the operations of the intersections. It's very important for us to know how these intersections operate, because if we're going to start changing something about the intersections in order to make it more of a complete streets corridor, right? If we're going to do things to add pedestrian amenities or whatever it may be, we need to understand what we're working with in terms of traffic flow. So right now, the corridor as we know it is 2 lanes in each direction. There are left turn lanes at intersections. In our world, level of service is like a report card for the intersection, usually level of service. So unlike a report card, in this case, level of service A through D is in suburban settings considered highly acceptable, right? If you're in rural Pennsylvania, you might be expecting level of service A or B, but in a suburban area, highly developed area, level of service A through D is highly acceptable. And then once you get to E, even E is reasonable. It's really at that point that you're at a level of service F that it becomes problematic. Overall, every one of our intersections during all 3 peak hours, weekday morning, weekday evening, and Saturday, overall, each of these intersections are operating at acceptable level of service D or better. The only real intersection that has any problems today is at the intersection with Bridge Avenue, which is an offset intersection, and because of the offset, it has split phasing, which is the most inefficient form of signal phasing, and that's why there is delay at that intersection. But at the other intersections, which are more conventional, the levels of service are reasonable.
Where the kids call it.
Skipping to the next slide. So this is just sort of interesting data. This just summarizes the pedestrian volumes that we counted at each of these intersections. So, and really, it's not every intersection on the corridor, but it's focusing on the signalized intersections, because that's, let's face it, that's the only safe and reasonable place that we could expect pedestrians to cross today. We have most of our pedestrian crossings are occurring, not surprisingly, at the crossing by the SEPTA train station. We have 42 pedestrians crossing at that intersection in the weekday evening period. And then we also have 34 in the weekday evening at Midland and 30. Again, probably not surprising. That really is sort of the activity center of Berlin in many respects. And then at the offset intersection with split phasing that we were just speaking about, 24 and 25 pedestrians crossing in the morning and evening peak periods there as well. And I know we do get some kids that come from the school and they cross there. So I don't know that this was entirely surprising, but it certainly verifies that there is pedestrian activity on the corridor. So it's good to know that there is a purpose for the study in terms of making it a complete street corridor.
When did you count these with respect to when the school year ended?
We counted, we counted, I think it was in March.
Okay, so it was during.
It was definitely during the school year, 100%. 100%.
Was the town.
The question real quick.
What's the duration when you say AM peak and PM peak?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question. So the volumes that we were looking at on the earlier slides were the peak 60 minutes. But we counted 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. So we counted 7 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the evening. And then for traffic, for vehicle volumes, we isolate it to the peak 60 minutes because that's how we do our studies. For the pedestrian counts, it's actually the 2 hour period in the morning and the 2 hour period in the evening. So if you were just to isolate it to a single hour, it would be less than this. But these are the pedestrian volumes for the 2 hour window in the morning rush hour and the 2 hour window in the evening rush hour.
You're missing about 100 kids at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But, right.
Somebody
so-
opens that window.
Yeah,
It's 4 to
that's great.
That's good. All right.
But again, for our purposes, we focus on, when we're evaluating corridor operations,
Right.
we focus when traffic is heaviest, but yes, right, that's a great point. We should note that. Hopefully
Probably
Brian is,
200.
hopefully Brian's taking notes that
Easily.
when we consider, if we were to consider the school period, a lot more kids.
Yeah, and I don't know if Randy or Brian, Brian.
Brian.
I think on Fridays is usually, when school lets out, it's even worse along the corridor for pedestrian
Fridays,
Fridays.
is that,
Or it's just nice weather.
yeah,
It depends on sports.
okay, all right.
One plays.
It's kind of a tradition for
people-
the middle school kids and even some of the high school to walk
Yeah.
down.
Oh, good.
And go down from, was it Bridge, I guess?
Yeah, and we typically don't count on Fridays, because for everything else, traffic usually it's less, so that's good to know.
Yeah, I mean, just from the complete street perspective, and I had the whole picture.
Yeah, going all the way down to Bravo and Handles.
It would support that mid area from the school over
Yeah.
to.
And my
Yeah.
understanding is that certain teams at the middle school practice at the East Town Library and walk to the
All right.
library fields.
Okay. So we are, sad to say, coming to the end of summer and school will be back in session soon, so if we can gather, whether it be quantitative information or just observational information as to that Friday condition or the school dismissal time, would give us good indication as to the added pedestrian traffic. That's very helpful.
Wait, you have another issue with the SEPTA station. We just gotta notice that August 27th is no more. So,
Right.
I don't know if the study takes that into effect, and then we're still a couple of years out of COVID where traffic and everything is not what it used to be, not even close.
Yeah,
I mean, so as things hopefully start to rebuild and get busier in town, I don't think we're. You know, from a sidewalk standpoint, I think we're ready, but from a traffic standpoint, I don't think we're even close to what it used to be.
so volumes are, depending on where it is, and it varies, but in many cases, volumes have almost come back to that pre-COVID condition. What they haven't done is they have not been growing at the same rate as they were growing previously. Although volumes may have come back over a 24-hour period, they may be different during rush hour. For example, how many of us work from home now? Listen, the office market is severely suffering in many areas. You may hear today that it's actually doing pretty well in East Town. But Chris has more information to share on that, but your bigger office parks are suffering. So yes, conditions have changed. Will it ever go back to the way it was pre-COVID? Nobody knows, right? I think remote work for many people is here to stay, and it's just changed the way we live and we travel. But so I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your comments. And I do think that with SEPTA, pulling back on service at the end of August, we believe it's short-lived. We're hopeful that funding can be found and service can be fully restored at that point. But what that would show is if that were to stay, then that's only going to increase the traffic condition on all of our roads, right? It's going to be.
Right, I'm just saying it's an effect, right? I'm not saying it's good, bad.
Oh, no.
I don't know.
It's a game changer for everything.
Yeah,
Right?
it's
Not just this
that.
study, but it's gonna change everything. Yeah, we're watching that.
Finding employees will be a whole other problem.
Yeah. So, Brian, do you want to talk about the survey next, or the survey results?
Sure, yes. Does the board have the copy of the summary there?
I'm gonna hand those out.
All right.
This is the 3-page summary. Thank you. And extras, if anybody would
Sure. Go ahead, Ryan, you're up.
Great. So yeah, I wanted to go through a few highlights from this summary. We didn't require people to answer, every single question to be completed. So I just wanted to sort of give a broad sense of how many respondents we had at the maximum. We had a question that 892 people responded to, and then the one that was least responded to, incidentally, the age question, was 767 respondents that answered that one. So really good, really healthy response rate, a lot of interest in the project, and a lot of folks kind of were directed to the survey through the farmers market engagement. We saw a really big bump right around then. So I think we've gotten some really good input so far on the survey, and all forms of feedback that we've gotten. So looking at the corridor usage section of the responses, you can see kind of a good mix of, so it was 73% of the respondents use the corridor daily or almost daily. Some are 59% of people walk or bike to destinations on the corridor at least some of the time. But then on the other hand, which we've discussed, 57% of respondents drive through without stopping, always or most of the time. So we're seeing the gamut of the folks using the corridor in different ways. Looking at business patronage, we noticed that, again, this kind of affirms, I think, what some of the reason for the study is, and that's basically that there is a strong business attraction to the corridor. You have a lot of people, 71% of respondents saying that they visit corridor businesses frequently. But then at the same time, we have respondents, 71%, saying they go to one business and then they leave always or most of the time. And then 68% basically saying they would never kind of go there just to spend time, right? They wouldn't, if they didn't have a specific place to go, specific business to go to, they would never say, hey, let's go walk around Berwyn for a day and see what's going on in the restaurants and shops. Looking at the safety perceptions section there, I think a understandable spread there. In terms of the folks who felt very unsafe, the ones that kind of hit the highest on that were people talking about biking on the corridor or using wheelchairs or other mobility devices. Kind of got the highest on of folks who were saying that the corridor is very unsafe. Followed by walking, a little less so than biking or wheelchair or mobility device, but that's where we kind of saw the highest counts of folks saying very unsafe versus driving. I generally was more favorable in terms of people feeling safe on the corridor. We looked at kind of the top safety concerns there, and you can see them listed. Drivers speeding, drivers not yielding to pedestrians and bicyclists, confusing intersections, and dangerous driver behavior. And in the next section, barriers to walkability and appeal, we kind of asked folks to pick some kind of what are the most important barriers to the corridor being what we all envisioned it to be. And some of the highest ones actually had to do with streetscaping elements like benches, trees, the fast and noisy traffic and the narrow sidewalks. And then finally a parking concern at the end there as well. Looking at perceptions of the corridor, I think we wouldn't be surprised here because I think it hits on a lot of the same themes that we're trying to address in this project. Which is that, most respondents didn't agree with the statement. We put out a statement, say, do you agree, strongly disagree, whatever, with, Route 30 in Berwyn is an appealing place to walk around and shop or dine or relax. Most people disagreed, and a lot of folks were neutral, meaning that, they don't agree or disagree, but clearly they're not enthusiastic about that statement, right? Similarly, asking people do you think that the corridor has a defined identity and a sense of place? And again, more than half disagreeing, and then an additional quarter saying, you know, not really sure one way or the other, but again, not enthusiastic about the statement. Similarly, a small percentage of folks agreed with the statement that it's clear and obvious where someone should park to access businesses on the corridor. And then a certain amount there also neutral to the statement. We also asked folks about their top priorities for improvements, and sort of asked among each of the objectives, major project objectives, what do they think was kind of absolutely essential, and sort of on a sliding scale. And so you can see here the numbers listed of which elements of the project, which objectives had the most hits on people saying that they were absolutely essential, that this project deals with them. And this echoes, I think, what we saw in a previous response there, improving the streetscape and the business offerings, which we'll get to with Chris's presentation. And then traffic calming, and coming in further behind there is parking concerns. We also asked, we had certain kind of open-ended questions that let people either share any other thoughts, or in some cases, just if we didn't have the, you know, all the suggestions in mind, it's kind of an other please specify type of response. And some things we got here, again, it's encouraging that the public is kind of echoing the themes of the project. So a lot about sidewalks and crosswalks, and unsafe intersections and speeding, wanting to see a more walkable town center like environment, so like similar to Wayne or Phoenixville, looking for more clarity on parking, looking for more appealing public spaces, and that's including green space, benches, and outdoor gathering locations. So yeah, I just wanted to open things up a little bit to questions there too, if folks had anything they wanted to talk about relative to the survey results.
If I can jump in real quick, I mean, I think the feedback's great. Clearly, there's a lot of passion and interest in seeing Berwyn, successful and thriving, and I think a lot of what the township's trying to accomplish through this project, the community seems to support that as well. So there's definitely seems to be alignment, which is wonderful. I find it maybe a little bit ironic. Some of the surveys are indicating that people don't visit Berwyn or driving and passing through, which probably is the case, but I do think, I don't know, maybe as a joke, Brian, some of the survey responses we gathered were from the farmers market in Berwyn, right? So I think people are visiting. Maybe they're just not visiting Berwyn as much as they would like to.
But they'll never in Berwyn. No sign that says Berwyn.
Right. So I think people want to be in Berwyn. They want a reason to visit Berwyn more, and they just want it to be maybe more walkable or more amenities or whatever features it may be. So I think we're heading in the right direction in terms of advancing this project.
Brian, I'm just curious about, I think I've seen it a few times in here, it's unsafe. Is there a specific area that was mentioned that's unsafe, or is this generally the corridor in general?
The survey did include a map of the study area, so I think that folks hopefully kind of understood what we meant by Berwyn from that.
No, but I think Nick's asking about whether there are specific areas within the corridor that the community identified as unsafe. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, there are some within the within some of the open-ended questions. Yeah, there are some, and some familiar ones. Some of the intersections that I think we're gonna talk about. And yeah, so we'll make sure to sort of dive in and get those, and make sure if anything sort of comes up that is not on our radar already, we'll be working with the survey results on that.
I mean, they've done a better job slowing them down coming uphill, right? But coming downhill, it's 100 miles an hour. So when you're coming past the train station, coming downhill Route 30,
Right.
Yeah.
those lights stay green, right? While the other one is red, by the way. So if a car stops and you'll think you're gonna cross the street because you don't look, there's people still doing 100 miles an hour down the other way. Those lights are timed horribly. I don't know how someone hasn't gotten killed. I mean, and it's not just because it's in front of my building, but I happen to look out the window a lot, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's bad.
it
And
is
where my
not safe.
business is, I have a business on Old Lancaster Avenue.
Yeah.
Where School Rock is. I mean, I
It's
called
fine,
and I asked somebody to put like a, something to show the speed. Well, they put it at the bottom of the hill, which is where you have to stop. So you couldn't really see the speed. People are cursing, people are honking, people like are trying to go into the parking lot and they're going around them. I mean, there's kids, there's School Rock, which is all kids. There's a dance studio that's all kids. Like, I don't know what it's gonna take for someone to get hit, for
Somebody got
them
killed
to
on
do
the
something
bridge years ago.
horrible. It's like scary, horrible. And parents, I mean, they drop their kids off and like, I don't know, I've just been there a year and in the last year, I'm like shocked that it's been like this for this long. It's bad. And the sidewalks is huge. There's kids I mean, people get off the bus stop and they're walking I mean, I know you're saying the bus is gonna be there, but like, people are walking in the grass, which, I mean, I don't know, it doesn't seem any safer. So I just feel like you want Berwyn to be a better place to live, and everybody who is here lives here, but we're not doing the things that I think are really important, and I think if you want people to be excited about coming to Berwyn, you have to put a sidewalk. Can't walk anywhere if, that's the biggest part of it. So you can have all these nice restaurants and nice shops, but if you can't get there and then there's nowhere to park, no one's gonna go.
Right.
So to say like 50% or how many numbers is like, oh, we don't care, or we're not doing anything, well, they're not doing it because there's not that opportunity to do it. So if you put a sidewalk, they can walk there, I bet you'll have a lot more people walking around.
We lost the driving bridge and turned it into a walking bridge for when got this time. Even though you can walk, and I'm not saying to put the car bridge back in, obviously, I mean, but there's like the other side of the bridge and then there's the town, right? There's no like, and even over on on that side where the School Rock is, there's underneath that dangerous bridge where all those houses are, no one's ever gonna walk under, you're taking a
There's
life in your own
speed
hands.
bumps back there,
Right,
but they need a
well, those
speed bump
houses,
where
yeah,
we
there
are.
right, but
I
you
mean,
never
it really,
walk from
really
around,
is.
if you walk under that bridge to come around, you're taking your life in your own hands, someone's.
That bridge is horrible.
Yeah.
You stop on one and you don't stop on another, so, I come from different directions because there's traffic, and I mean, I'm just shocked that I've been here a year and this has been happening for how long? You don't know where you're going with that bridge, there's a stop sign in one spot. I used to come from Gateway, so I had the stop sign, but now I come from my house, because I don't go to Gateway, and I'm coming this way, and I have a stop sign, if they don't, and you don't even know till they're like here, so you're constantly like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
That bridge is, yeah, it's dangerous.
I'm just, again, another spot that I'm shocked that no one's got an accident.
Like, yeah, Larry lost like,
On,
you're like 10, 15 years.
on the map, on the southern section, I know you mentioned Lakeside is the southern limit or eastern limit of the.
Right,
But I guess on your.
which map, is this the one with the orange and green? Or which map are you looking at?
Yeah, the satellite pictures.
Yeah, but it doesn't have that intersection,
It doesn't, you're right,
yeah, but I
Yeah.
know it's on your overall map,
I actually hit somebody pulling out of Lakeside.
the orange and green,
The
map
circles
with
were
the
nice.
orange and green circles,
It says there's
is
access.
that the map you're looking
Yeah.
at? Yeah. We wanna pull that up?
Coming out of Lakeside, right.
So,
2 feet.
I don't, there's somebody that has their hand raised, so I don't know what the format is, because if we're just gonna do the presentation and then have questions at the end, or if we should.
Oh,
that's fine. we can finish.
So I just wanna make sure that everybody gets their voice heard. But, so I just wanna I'm not quite sure when I should.
that's a great question, how would the planning commission like to handle, should we go through the presentation or stop and take questions as we go?
You go through the presentation, but you probably are gonna answer a lot of questions, so.
Okay,
Do you wanna, since the person has their hand raised, it most likely is pertaining to what was just discussed, should we just
just take this one and then.
take this one
then we'll-
and then we'll have
hold
questions and
questions.
comments at the end? Is that
Good.
sound good?
Yep.
Jim, can you hear us? Jim?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, I had a couple items, but just to keep it moving, I just wanted to second the comment that Old Lancaster Road, I think, has been very dangerous. I have the opportunity to frequent there. My daughter has been dancing there for years, and I've seen many near accidents where kids just trying to cross the crosswalk in the middle of Old Lancaster almost have been hit. So something does need to be done. I would recommend something be done soon, maybe even before this project gets initiated. So, but certainly for those planning this project, I agree that something needs to be done and considered for Old Lancaster Road. And I'll hold the rest of my comments until later.
Okay. Thank you. If we want to pull up the aerial with the orange and green dot. So a couple of things. One, first of all, I didn't mention Tom Comita. I completely forgot Tom Comita is with us as well. He's on video. He's, I believe, joining us from vacation. Tom, so thank you for being here. Tom is a member of the team. His firm is a part of the team as well. So, so again, we are early in. Certainly, I think at a high level, we understand the problems, right? Now we're starting to diagnose specific items on the corridor as well as specific opportunities. So, Brian, I think it might be easier if I maybe run with this one to start, since I'm in the room with everybody. It might be easier for me to go through it. So we weren't necessarily going to go through this slide in great detail, but essentially what this slide shows is in orange were items of concern, and some of these items of concern were mentioned to us at the farmers market through the survey. So, you know, I will note that there is an orange dot right at the bridge on Old Lancaster. I will also note that Old Lancaster Road is not technically a part of the project scope. The scope is the Route 30 Complete Streets project. But I will say, as we have been gathering information, as we've been walking the corridor, it's hard to ignore Old Lancaster. So, you know, I don't think the study will be silent to Old Lancaster, but it may not go into the same level of detail. At least at this time, it's not a part of the project. But it's certainly important to Berwyn, and we will not ignore it. It will be recognized in the project. And I also can speak to that as a father who took my son to School of Rock for a number of years. So I experienced all the same issues. So anyway, this slide shows in orange were items of concern. It includes items such as no sidewalk, areas of no sidewalk. It identifies specific areas. You know, it's more general in nature, right? So orange, areas of no sidewalk, safety issues at Lakeside Avenue. Again, these were items that were pointed out to us by the survey and by the public. We talked about the bridge, the intersection, the skewed intersection, and that really more speaks to Old Lancaster Road as it sort of does that button hook as it aligns with Midland. It makes for an awkward intersection. A couple of people just pointed out the condition, more of an aesthetics aspect, the condition of the former Handles property and how it really is not attractive to Berwyn. And then more areas of missing sidewalk. So a variety of issues have been identified on the corridor. Again, what we already know, it's been identified, the offset nature of the intersection of the bridge and the split phasing and how that creates operational issues for the corridor. So this is by no means comprehensive. It's just really more of a work in progress, working document as we are starting to sort of summarize the feedback that we're getting. And then we are adding to that with our own feedback and observations. And then in green are just some initial suggestions and ideas that have been identified. Brian, why don't I let you go with the green and maybe at a high level, if you want to maybe run through some of the items that have been identified.
Sure. So I think some of the bigger ticket, most impactful items, I think that if you look on the bottom map to the right, we talked about roadway narrowing as it's a very wide roadway as you sort of approach the you know, where things get more dense and you get more of a village feel in Berwyn. And I think we talked about various aspects of traffic calming, narrowing the roadway and mid-block crossing and things like that, that sort of would cue drivers a little bit more into the idea that we're entering, this is a gateway, it's a gateway into sort of a dense walkable village environment. Because right now it doesn't really flow that way to the driver. The road stays pretty wide. The speed limit lowers a little bit, but that doesn't necessarily equal out to kind of that experience, traffic calm gateway experience. We talked about there's a wide right in the heart of the village, or again at the bottom map, mid-block crossing. There's not really many opportunities because of not so many signalized intersections and all that for people to cross and hit the businesses and all that on different sides of the road. And we talked a little bit about, I think, one idea that was thrown out. If you look again, pointing at Old Lancaster Road, which we were just talking a lot about, this doesn't certainly address the bridge issue, but is there a potential for maybe a cobblestone or other decorative treatment that would have sort of a traffic calming aspect, a decorative aspect, and also just kind of clue people into that this really isn't like a thoroughfare right now, right? This is kind of a place to drive slowly and be responsive to pick up and drop off and all that kind of thing. So just sort of something that we thought might potentially be helpful, and particularly I think as we were talking about possibly more short-term and doable things in the more immediate space. I think that's something to consider. There's also spots that we identified for potential improvement of public spaces, which I think we're going to hit on as well in the next slide with Tom, and additional public parking, like in the on the center map, center of the top map there. And then I think we'll bring in Tom to look at number 6.
Yeah, and before
Sorry, go ahead.
Before we drop off this page, so a couple of things, right? So Brian talked about anybody that drives the corridor knows that once you pass Midland and if you're heading east, it speeds up, it becomes a speedway. So changing the character of the road, there are no other places to cross once you get past the Midland intersection. So mid-block crossing might be an opportunity for pedestrians to cross, but also to slow traffic. This is more thematic than anything. Again, these are not all the solutions, but some of the ideas that we may be considering. I will say in your packet, you did receive an information package, a 2-page information sheet on roundabouts. Roundabouts have been identified. We were out there and we thought, gosh, Lakeside is awkward. It's difficult, but it's a wide open intersection. Maybe a roundabout would fit. We don't know if it would fit. We don't know if it'll work at the end of the day, but it's that kind of thinking that we want to employ in this project. If a roundabout made sense at Lakeside, it would not only make it a safer intersection, it would add traffic control, but it would also be a wonderful gateway feature, right? Anybody from the east knows I'm now entering Berlin and I'm slowing down, and it's a totally different ballgame at this point. It may never pass muster, it may not fly with PennDOT, but these are some of the ideas that we are looking at as we move through the project. Anyway, Brian, did you want to pass it off to Tom then at this point to talk about?
Yeah, let's
Sure.
Tom, let's talk about this public spaces.
Yeah, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Greetings from northern Maine. So at the May Planning Commission meeting, the last page of the packet that evening had an exhibit with the word town square. And there were some very high level conceptual outlines. June 8th, Randy and myself reached out to a number of people at the farmers market, wide open questions about potential greening of the corridor, and people were forthcoming to outline certain places. On June 19th, we had our team site walk both sides, both directions along the corridor. And we identified some opportunities for green space, the largest of which is diagonal from the Bronze Plaza, where we're in the early stages of exploring the extent to which that town square concept presented in very conceptual way in May would possibly be fleshed out more by the October 7th Planning Commission meeting. But whether it's called Town Square or pedestrian gathering area or another plaza to complement the Bronze Plaza, the idea is that this Complete Streets initiative is kind of the fusion of best practices for transportation with best practices for the greening of the corridor, the pedestrian amenities, continuity of sidewalk, crosswalk, street tree, street light, the benches, banners, whatever it takes to create a more comfortable space. And so in those regards, I think our mission is what I'll call creative placemaking and trying to explore and then seek some more detailed feedback from the Planning Commission in October on how we might make some of these green opportunities very, valuable to the whole Complete Streets initiative. So Chris and Brian, I just wanted to tee it up in that way.
Okay, very good. So we'll be back with more on that, but we are looking at opportunities for public gathering spaces and adding some greenery to the corridor. Brian, I think if I follow the agenda we talked about, I think we're handing it off to Chris Lankin on next. Is that right?
That's right. Yep.
All right. So Chris is going to give you results of the market analysis.
All right, thanks, Chris. Yeah, so if you recall, I examined several uses that the idea was that they could complement the Complete Streets effort. Colin, you can go to the next one. We looked at, we started with a study area. So East Town's obviously there in the orange, but when we examined some of the market uses, we looked at the townships around it. We always look at socioeconomic trends just to kind of set a baseline. Go to the next one. Population and how things have changed. You guys are actually the smallest of your neighbors, and you've grown by 4.7% in the last 10 years. Next slide. And you're projected to grow by 2050 by 120 residents every 5 years, so 5.2% growth. So again, that just kind of sets the stage of the township over the next several years. Next slide. Income, you're slightly higher than your neighbors. So that's more spending power when it comes to some of the market uses. Next slide. Jobs. So you were holding pretty steady there. COVID hit and there was a slight decrease, but you clearly rebounded in 2022. It'll be interesting to see how things continue to change, but it looks like you're heading in the right direction. So employment is increasing the township as well. Next slide. This is just a snapshot of what your top 10 industry sectors are right now, just to give you a sense of what the jobs are in the township. So healthcare is the largest, almost 30%. So a very solid industry in terms of job growth. So I think that explains some of the growth taking place. Next slide. Okay, so we looked at several markets. Again, identifying uses that could occur along the corridor in the village. So we started with housing. Next slide. Rental housing, sorry, probably more slides than we need here. So the way we did that was, there's limited housing right here in the village. So we looked at some of those surrounding townships to get a sense of really what's going on in the area. You've got the Fritz, which is a great newer example of apartments right now. That was built in 2023. There are only 3 units available right now, so clearly it's a very popular place. 5% vacancy rate. So we kind of did the same analysis for some of your other units. There's much older down the street, mainline Berlin, but only 2% vacancy rate. Next slide. We also looked at rents as well, but I don't think that's as important tonight. But some of the newer complexes in the study area, We want to, you know, understand what the new construction is commanding and how fast they're filling up. So again, for pretty new units, fairly low vacancy rate, they're pretty large buildings. So next slide, Colleen. More new stuff in some of the, you know, to the south down in Newtown. Again, pretty robust occupancy rates there, under 5%.
Where is it? Newtown Square?
Yeah. And then just looking at some older units as well, just to see, you know, how are they faring? Well, you can see Radnor Crossing, at least at the time of taking a look at that, there was nothing available. Well, maybe one unit. So, okay, that's about 0%. A little higher at Stonegate. Again, an older building, but still, you know, commanding pretty high rents. That's a huge complex. So the fact that a 7% vacancy rate is pretty good there. So really, again, the exercise there was what's going on in the area, how full are they, you know, are they commanding good rents, are they remaining occupied? Next slide, Colin. And of course, you've got the proposal for Berlin Square, which is 107 new units. So not only are things pretty low vacancy, you've got even more coming on to help address that. So one more slide here. So this last one just kind of sums up the potential based on all that research. So again, you've got a growing population. You would need additional units to capture that growth over the next several years. The vacancy rate is very, very low. A 5% vacancy rate is considered healthy. So generally you're at that or below. So, you know, there's a critical shortage of housing, I'd say. The new unit there, Berlin Square, resolve about 107 of those units of demand. So I think the recommendation here would be there's probably opportunity for more housing, but I think you might want to wait as those fill up and kind of monitor that pace. But I do think the village could be an opportunity for you know, additional housing in the future. So the fact that that new one's coming on, I think, is a great litmus test for the market. So, next slide. We looked at retail. This will be maybe more interesting. We did a snapshot of your existing inventory within the village area of those limits that Chris showed on the map earlier. This just gives you a sense of the breakdown of what's there. Really interesting variety, lots of, I think, good types of uses for a village center like this. Clearly, restaurants are the most full service are the sit down, you know, people serve you at the table. Limited service or more takeout, pizza, Chinese food, that kind of thing. So those are the most type of businesses you have. And then you've got a lot of one-offs, if you will, florist, you've got the floor covering store, sporting goods, the tire dealer. But again, a really kind of interesting and I think healthy mix for a village of this type. Next slide. So what we did is to understand what some of the opportunity is for additional retail. Drew some trade areas. We got a 1 mile, which is very small. That's really your absolute most communities serving kind of small radius. The 3 is a bit more reasonable. I think it captures an area where people will, you know, they'll do their normal day-to-day activities, but they're not going to go much further than that for things like, you know, the drugstore or even like takeout food, that kind of thing. The 5 mile, we wanted to take a look at that. That captures King of Prussia. So we wanted to see what types of sales and demand is occurring in that, just as a litmus test. So next slide. This table compares those 3 trade areas in the major retail category. So you can see all the red on the right really is a reflection of King of Prussia. All the red means there's a surplus. It means people are coming into that trade area from throughout the region because there's so much supply. It's basically an oversupply. If we look at the 3 mile radius, I think that's a much better capture area for the Berlin Village. It's large enough, but not too small like the 1 mile. So within that, there are some very specific opportunities of retail that would be appropriate for the village. Next slide. So within that 3 mile area, these are some specific.
Sorry. There you go.
Uh-oh.
Some specific uses or retailers that we think would be appropriate, specifically for Berwyn. Food and beverage, obviously, that is your most common right now, but there is, the data shows that there's demand for even more of that, which I think could be a good complement to what's there now. You've got the new coffee shop coming, but there's actually more demand for more of that, so you could create kind of a dining hub in a way. Believe it or not, clothing, there's a lot of, even with King of Prussia, but it's more of the boutique kind of stuff. You know, the accessories, the gifts, kind of like what you have there. Not the Old Navy type of thing at all. People are still gonna go to King of Prussia for that. And then some of the more miscellaneous things that could really complement a village like this, you know, maybe a small hardware store, pet store. You've got some of the used merchandise stores, creating, again, almost like a little niche of that. So I think there could be opportunity for some more of that. So again, smaller scale, independently owned, 1,000 to 2,000 square feet type of places that could perhaps go into any new construction over the next several years if opportunities come up, or if any vacancies arise in some of the existing buildings. These are the kinds of things that could probably do quite well. Next slide.
Chris, but earlier today, the bookstores are coming back.
Bookstores are coming back. Barnes and Noble, they are reopening stores, believe it or not.
Although
Smaller
teenagers only want to go to the ones in the cafes.
Yeah, right. You gotta be able to sit down and have coffee.
My daughter specifically asked me to take her to the one in Bryn Mawr and not the one down in
We
Gateway.
still have one of the hottest record stores.
Yeah, I mean,
That's sort of.
and that's the kind of thing that draws people to the area. So, in fact, I heard somewhere that there was a Barnes and Noble that closed.
The one in Bryn Mawr.
It stayed vacant, and they're moving back into that same exact spot.
Wow.
Yeah, like 7 years later. So yeah, what comes around goes around. It's really amazing. We looked at small office. You've got a bit of office here, right here in the village. I know that's your space. Actually, 19% vacancy rate's very good. So I hope you get that filled.
That's actually a very mixed use building,
Okay.
so, and most of the spaces that are available are retail, so.
Yes.
Counties represented.
Yeah. And some of the listings say office / retail, depending on your use. And probably 610 is a similar type of use there
And we
too.
have a jewelry, an art store going in there.
Oh, yeah, okay, good.
Is that yours to?
Yeah,
Well,
where Sir Speedy was, we have a group of artists that are coming.
Oh,
who
great.
wanna-
That's cool.
that'll be
Yeah.
awesome.
That'll be, I think jewelry was another item that,
We have another jewelry person that wants to come and open and go
Good.
in, but we have to find the right spot for her.
because a lot of people think like jewelry, do people really come, but people like
They
to
really
come to
do.
a place like this for a small independently
100%.
specialty shop like that, so. Next slide. And I think Chris mentioned, there's a lot of big office buildings around that are super vacant, and we didn't look at anything like that, because nothing like that would be appropriate, I think, for the village. We looked at the smaller, more almost residential looking, scaled type of uses. And again, they have pretty low vacancy rates, which I think shows that those places are pretty popular. That one there, the old Remax place is a little higher, but next slide. Again, these are just demonstrations of what's around. Again, smaller scale, pretty decent vacancy rate, relatively speaking, variety of ages, mostly class B and C. So I think what we're finding is there's nothing new, like super high end, if anyone's looking for that type of thing. Next slide, I think.
We converted two of the ones on Lancaster Avenue to apartments.
Oh, okay.
One's down by the massage, like past Nectar on the right.
Yes.
I think those got converted to apartments from.
Yeah, and that's not surprising.
Yeah,
Again, we did look at co-working as well. You've got a bunch around. You've got several Regises. You got iThrive. I think one closed actually. So the thought is, next slide, Colleen, kind of summarizes everything. I think from the traditional, there does seem to be an opportunity for some limited, brand new office if someone's looking for high-end space on the corridor that would be part of like a brand new construction building sometime in the future. Even though the class B and C are an important component, I think, of the market for people that don't want quite that type of space. And then the co-working, we're thinking not
Not right now, anyway, there's just enough going on, that's, there's probably not really demand for that. And then last but not least, next slide, we looked at some of the entertainment options. This could be a whole variety of things. We looked at, next slide, we looked at bowling alleys, theaters. I know people probably think large scale, understanding the smaller scale of the village, but just taking it, the temperature of what's in the area. You've got the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville. You've got the movie tower. I mean, that could be kind of an interesting concept, some, small theater that serves food. Next slide. Bowling, you got Dead Wayne's right down the street, even though it's a big location. Over in Oaks, that's still kind of within our study area that we looked at. You've got an interesting family fun center type of thing, axe throwing. You've got a few around Phoenixville, you got one in King of Prussia. So I think, long story short, with the entertainment of these types, I think the market's pretty saturated in that regard too. You've got a pretty solid group of these type of uses surrounding Berlin Village. But we do think, despite maybe there being a saturated market for those specific things, any kind of new dining facility could incorporate maybe like a performance area, performance stage that could kind of create an interesting live music venue.
They have one.
Yeah, well, but I mean, exactly, we're talking about that.
Sorry about that, but.
Yeah. But I think,
142 bowling.
I know.
lanes In a 10-mile
I
radius,
know.
that is insane.
and believe it or not, there is a, I forget, I have it in my, there's like a National Institute of Bowling, believe it or not. That we looked at that to see how many lanes are there per capita, and you way exceed that, so. That's why, believe it or not, some places we worked, there's a dearth of bowling, but you've got Dead and Lanes right there, which kind of captures that. So long story short, I think something, small and intimate in the entertainment scale could be, especially as part of a restaurant, could be kind of an interesting thing. And again, these are all uses that we think could complement the complete streets. This isn't something that would happen overnight. This would be over several years as properties get redeveloped, perhaps, as businesses come and go. So we just wanted to examine the opportunities for those over the next few years.
I noticed you didn't mention we have 2 Corona lanes within 10 miles.
Oh, I didn't get that. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So you've definitely got.
We're exceeding the per capita average on that.
Yeah, I think you're doing okay on that, yeah.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Any questions on that? It's a lot of information, feel free to dive into it more,
So
but.
we're, go through it, we're looking, the complete streets, this is more of like a kind of an accessory
Yeah,
element of our
supplement
complete
to
street
it.
study, because obviously, complete streets in and of itself is a noble effort to make the corridor more walkable and safer for all users. But let's face it, there's an economic element to all this, and if we can make the corridor a better corridor and make it more dynamic and more usable for all modes of transportation, there's also an opportunity to make it more economically viable. And so the market analysis is really just almost like a compendium to our study. So yeah, dig into it, and that will be reflected in the document as we go forward. You on Macabre?
No.
Oh, okay.
Um,
You made a comment.
Midtown Social was 30 minutes. So we have.
Oh, that's yours. Okay, nice.
So now it's Midtown Social. So it was the town hall in 1900 that we reopened on the second floor.
Nice.
Working on the live music and all that coming this season. It's been a long
Okay.
process.
Okay.
So the part of the issues are, obviously parking,
Yeah.
valet parking, signage, all of the things that you guys are working on,
Yeah.
which are great. Aside from that, what works in the town is anything to do with children and families. So,
Yeah.
that's why the bowling alley works, because you
Yeah.
get kids, that's why Handles
Actually, throwing
works.
that so much.
Yeah, well, depends, right?
Or Midtown Social now. so.
Well, Midtown Social is more with alcohol. I mean, although we do have line dancing, which is 18 and up, and sweet 16 parties.
Yeah,
all
well, I
that
mean, you
stuff.
guys, you could be. Really
Yeah, we're in the
entertainment.
middle with the
That's
second
exciting.
floor, we can get away without the bar as long as we just keep them out on Thanksgiving Eve. Other than that, we'll be fine.
Right.
But yeah, it's an interesting, with all the years in the business, with the restaurant, seeing things, 10 years ago, things were very strong in the restaurant business in Berlin as King of Prussia built and competition happened. You know, Berlin kind of stayed there, so we're looking forward to seeing the growth.
Yeah.
Just kind of like in the, you know, in the right ways. I mean, not just to benefit me, I mean,
Yeah.
it benefit, you know,
Everybody.
both sides of the
Benefits
town.
everybody.
It benefits everybody when we all win, and it.
I feel like
it's been
even
one of
when,
the things that's been hard to kind of get across.
yeah, even when like the data shows there's like a saturation of restaurants. You know, there's like different kinds of restaurants. I feel
Right.
like someone could even take, and I know it's an expensive venture, like it's
Oh,
a
it-
huge investment to like test the waters, but.
I'm actually 25.
But yeah, I feel like there's always room for more restaurants.
There is, it's a key.
If you do it right.
Trying to get everybody to work together and
Yeah.
realize it's not us against them, it's us against Wayne and us against
Yeah.
Phoenixville, and it's not like against, they're not our enemies, but you know, when they do events and things in their towns, our towns empty out. So,
Yeah, competing for that market share.
right, so
Yeah.
it's gotta be more of a cooperative.
And then COVID did kind of change dining habits, like a lot of
For
people
sure.
just, me included, I'm like, let's just get takeout, I don't feel like leaving the house.
Once
you
we
know?
closed the parking lot, that was like it.
So we're
So-
still recovering from that.
So we had one last thing that we wanted to do real quick, and that was the vision and goals document, which was that in the, I think that was the last page in the material that was presented to the planning commission.
Yeah, it's the last page of the packet.
Yeah, and then we've already taken way more of your time
Yeah.
than we intended, but we appreciate your
Yeah.
patience, listening and the feedback. So we are almost out of your hair. There we go, that one.
Oh, it's doing a great job.
Yes, thank you, Colleen. Brian, go ahead. You want to run through this?
Yeah, so I think what we wanted to sort of nail down, and I don't think this will be too unfamiliar to you guys. It's sort of a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, but I think that, you know, we wanted to sort of have everybody on the same page about what it is we're trying to accomplish, you know, through these vision statements, particularly at the top, what we kind of want it to look like when everything is, you know, when the plan is implemented, what it'll look like, and then the goals and the statements underneath them kind of talk about how do we get there, and what are the elements that contribute to the vision. So, you know, I think we have enhancing safety for all users. We've talked a lot about that, and accommodating all the modes of transportation. We saw the disparity there in the survey results about some people feeling safe, some less so if you're biking or using a wheelchair. Addressing the parking needs and fostering placemaking and community identity. Some of the stuff that Tom was talking about creating focal gathering locations and things like that, and some of what Chris was just saying about supporting economic development and business vitality, tying that into the project, and all coming together in sort of a quality of life and community connectivity, sort of a Berwyn as a place to be for all kinds of things, for shopping, dining, and but also just coming together as a community, kids feeling safe walking through on their way home or after school. So I think that these are sort of the big themes that we've been working on, and so we kind of wanted to put them out there explicitly and get people's feedback on if there's any kind of tweaks that we want to see there. But I think these are what we feel like are kind of the elements that we've heard already, and that will bring the vision to fruition.
Yeah, so this really is our guidance document, right? So we want to make sure that we're meeting this vision and these goals. So we don't need to spend any more time on this this evening, but I would say take it home, look it over, get comfortable with it. If you think this captures the vision and the goals for the project, then great. If we need to tweak them, then we can do that as well. But we could kick off, the next time we're together, maybe we could just do a quick check-in and say, hey, did you have a chance to look it over? Is everybody good with this? So I think it'd be unfair to ask you to really give a reaction tonight, but unless you do want to, but otherwise we could kick off the next meeting and just do a quick check-in and make sure we're on board in agreement with this. Does that sound reasonable, or how would you like to do that? Next meeting,
What do you guys? I'm happy to give you feedback tonight, but
Yeah.
if you want it, but I would say my preliminary reaction to it is that everything makes sense. I think with Berwyn, we have a very unique situation. It's a very compact area. where. But the restaurants are all. Right now, mostly are on the outside of Berlin, right? That's where the majority of them are. That's where the pizza place is, Casey's is, you know. You got Boba Tea, Vico, all that stuff. I almost feel that we do need to create the balanced transportation corridor. I think, you know, any improvements should be more towards like a walking aspect of it as opposed to the biking aspect of it. I think it's such a heavily and a unique place for pedestrian use. Something tells me, you know, with it being such a compact area, there's not gonna be much bicycle traffic in there. Granted, there is a bicycle shop. You know, the bikers usually, they drive down like Shorttown and Dog Alley Road, you know, they take all the scenic routes and stuff like that. I think the big customers here are pedestrians, especially coming over from the middle school and high school.
I would agree.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's kind of.
I appreciate that.
Reaction to it.
Good.
I'd like to just say on parking needs, I think we need to review the parking study that was done several years ago.
Yep.
It addressed a lot of things and nothing happened. One-way streets, you know, making more parking within the village and the neighborhoods with one-way streets, and everyone said, oh, no, we can't make it one way. They can.
Yeah, we pulled that out and we are
Yeah.
taking a look at that as we start looking at potential solutions. So that is going to be a reference that we use.
Okay.
Valet parking would be. Perfect.
And did Bowman or did McMahon do that study originally?
We did.
Yeah, and I agree, I go with, they said that there was a lot of good stuff. One thing I did stand out, that there seems to be a lot of parking available, but I think it's just hard to find it, but I like how you said address parking needs strategically, because there is probably parking, it's just how you.
There is parking and I think, you know, signage, wayfinding, you know, that could be not only. You typically see wayfinding type signage in village settings. It adds to the character and it really becomes street furniture. It becomes an accessory, but it's also helpful and informational. And so I think if we can direct users to the parking, we can better educate them.
A lot of it's private parking.
Right.
A lot of the issues that you have with a property owner is someone parks on your lot, trips on your, comes back drunk, trips on your lot, and now you're getting sued for something that you basically provided for the community. So that needs to be addressed in some way. And we've talked about it with the township because obviously they kind of have a big umbrella and could potentially cover liability issues like that with minimal to no extra cost to them. And then it's just getting the community kind of on board a little bit. There's always been a little bit of hesitation. It's always been a liability issue.
Very good point.
It didn't cost me anything to insure half the town. So like Trinity, Malvern Federal, they just added it to my policies. And I'm just saying, so we all do it.
100%,
Yeah,
but
but the township would back up.
yes, but the township maybe, if they're gonna create signage for these parking areas that really are private parking, then how do you handle and manage that?
Yeah.
And the other question is, you know, in my case, my tenants are the most important, and they've paid to be in a building with parking. So they don't want to come and see that everything's been taken.
Right. Good point. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. So we've inundated you with a lot of information. We appreciate your time. I think we're back together. Brian, when are we back together? In October?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we're talking about the next steering committee is October. Yep.
Okay. All right.
I think
So,
we have a question.
oh, yeah, I do want to take questions. I'm sorry.
Jim,
Yes,
can you hear it?
Yes, I can. Just quick question. Will the survey results be posted? Because I didn't see that as part of the package.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, we have full survey results, and I'll send them to Colleen to distribute.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay.
Focusing on the old Lancaster Lakeside Loop, which I appreciate that you're somewhat addressing. We're on the Ped Bike Task Force, and I guess we're hoping for more, I guess, immediate improvements there. Is there some way that, you know, I think it's gonna come up next, we're gonna put it forth as a 2026 budget initiative. Is there some way we can dovetail what you're thinking with what we're, you know, what we're hoping for?
I think the answer is maybe. I guess I needed, we don't know it, maybe we can, I saw that that was on your list. I didn't know that until I got here, that you're gonna be discussing it next, so I'm actually gonna stick around. And I'd like to hear what you had to say, and if there's a way we can either, if nothing else, embrace what you're talking about and kind of further memorialize it in our document to give it more, even more credibility. Yeah, that's the least we could do, but then secondly, maybe there's a way that we can get it done. So, yeah, maybe.
All right, great.
But I'd love to hear more about the discussion.
The last thing, the bike lanes, no electric bikes. These kids are doing 100 miles an hour. On electric bikes down the sidewalk, in front of our business on the
They're
sidewalks.
not allowed to be on the
Yeah,
sidewalk
I
in
know,
the village. of
but they're
Brentwood.
gonna
I
go-
get all of that,
Yeah.
the police just are not in the village.
No, I know, and look, you know, as a bar, do I want them in the village every night? No, but I mean, like, on the other hand, people are doing 150 miles an hour through town, so it's like.
I know.
You know, yeah, we want, it's
I had a
the safety, I'd rather people be safe, because I don't really care, my customers Uber anyway.
I had a town for last week, called me and asked me for a sample e-bike ordinance to try to regulate.
Yeah, it's a little out of control, yeah, it's like a little motorcycle gang that comes through the neighborhood, so.
Yeah, and Chris, I think to
It's a kid.
Mike's point about, we have limited cart path, but I mean, if there is enough, I mean, we can't discard the bikers. Needs if there is room, you know, but I do agree pedestrians are
The priority.
yeah.
Well, they're not allowed on Route 30, so that's state law, you can't ride the electric bikes, 15-year-old kids can't be riding electric bikes down
You have to
there.
be 16 to ride an electric bike on the street.
Right,
Nice.
they're not 16.
Come on, it's
Totally
9:30.
know that. And the police know it too, and
Right.
they're trying to catch
Oh.
them. So now, because they got caught going down Lancaster Avenue, they're going down Berwyn Avenue and they're coming up Old Lancaster, whatever that one is, it's kind of between Timothy School and they're kind of cutting through there to
Yeah,
get
I
to
mean,
their friends.
nobody wants to be the, you know, but it's just a little much.
Yeah, I'd like to make two comments. One is, I think I've said this from the beginning, I'm not a fan of taking Route 30 down to any lower lanes. When I moved into the area in 1988, Berwyn was one lane in each direction and effort was put in to make it 2 lanes in each direction. I still remember back in that time going through neighborhoods to get places because I didn't want to go on Route 30 because it was so slow, so backed up. I don't want to get back to that situation where we have these people who are going 100 miles an hour down Route 30 are now going 100 miles an hour through the neighborhoods. I think that would be a huge move backwards. Okay, number one. Number two, parking, the parking study says, oh, there's hundreds of parking spaces, but clearly the study says people have no idea where to park. So public parking is a solution for that because public parking is signed and clearly signed not, oh, you can use this between 2 and 3 on Wednesdays and this between 4 and 7 on Mondays. That's ridiculous for people. It should be public parking people can get to. If we want it to be a village, people have to be able to park and go to many places. They can't just have to park in front of business A, go to business A, then park in front of business B to go to business B. Or not even know if they're parking in front of business A, can they go to business B or not? They don't know, right? So the solution have to be public parking. We have to solve these problems. Like we're hitting around the edges, you know, green, we'll put up green space in this little area. That's hitting around the edges. We have to solve these problems so that 50 years from now, people are like, this is a great place to live. We can't we can't put in plants or paint lines on the road and say, great, you know, people, no, we've got to come up with a solution that will work 50 to 100 years, you know, for not just 50 to 100 years, but from now for 50 to 100 years. So, yeah, I don't feel that this is, I don't feel that those goals are right. I don't feel that they're addressing the underlying problems. I don't feel that doing them would achieve a great thing for the people of this township.
Which goals?
The ones you listed earlier.
Okay.
The sheet that you listed up there. I think they're too limited, too unfocused, too not visionary enough.
Oh, okay.
So I'm very disappointed at this point. as I sit here and watch this.
So your comments were, and I appreciate the
Oh, I've got all more comments, those are just two that come.
Yeah. Okay, so those two, the comments regarding not wanting to reduce lanes on Route 30, which I can understand that, and then wanting public parking, that's separate from the goal comment. Okay, I thought they were all tied together. So, all right, so the goal.
I wanna be visionary, I wanna do something now that over the next 10 to 20 years, 10 to 30 years, it could take up 30 years. But I wanna do something now so that 50 years from now, people are like, this is a great place. It doesn't happen overnight, and if you don't start today, you never get there. You've gotta start somewhere, and we, yeah.
I agree. I do. I agree.
Because you got
I do.
Anybody else?
All right, well, we'll go back and certainly appreciate all the feedback. October. Appreciate all the feedback. We'll certainly consider all the feedback, including the comment regarding the goals, but I will say a lot of that, we're also gonna look to the steering committee, also known as the planning commission, to help us in crafting those goals. So I think if we could all take a look at that between now and October, that would be very helpful.
Can I say one more thing? We need some immediate solutions now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna be here in 50 years.
I agree with
And
that.
I agree with the vision, but let's get something done.
And I think like
sooner than later.
pedestrian stuff is the stuff that we really. Right.
Okay.
Especially Trader Joe's coming in and,
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
yeah.
Crazy.
It's gonna be great.
In a good way.
Good.
Yeah, it's the best thing that
That's
could happen to me. But you gotta get ready. It's almost like the big storm's coming, you gotta be prepared. And if you're not, it's just gonna go down.
It's gonna
So,
attract so many
kind of-
kids.
not for 20 years from now. I can't wait that long.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much.
All right, next item on the agenda is the 2025 omnibus consideration.
So this is, an annual update to the ordinance. This year, what we're asking the planning commission to look at and make any recommendations, is outdoor dining. Every year since, 2020, the Board of Supervisors have passed a resolution permitting outdoor dining in certain districts. So instead of continuing with the resolution every year, they're just gonna update the zoning ordinance to permit it in specific districts, still having the requirements that are indicated in the zoning code.
I had a couple questions on the proposed zoning. The question was, the associated restaurant or tavern shall have a minimum indoor seating capacity of 10 people. Why? Why does it even matter? What if it's a takeout restaurant and they have seating that's just outside in an adjacent, in their adjacent area?
These are requirements that are policy in the zoning code that were passed prior to my employee. So I don't know the genesis of the specifics when it comes to permitting certain people or, anything along those lines.
I mean, maybe they're trying to avoid a food truck or something, but
Yeah.
I don't
it
know.
could-
I don't know
It,
That was Gene Briggs, 'cause that was me that walked that through with him years ago before this.
so why would you have 10
He was
minimum
just-
seats inside?
Hard to explain, like he came and measured a table that was 28 inches instead of 26, and I had to get new tables, but there was like all kinds of little caveats. I think he didn't want like he wasn't referring to handles, right? And how they walk up to the window, but I think he was just trying to limit,
it very well could be food trucks.
like a pizza place.
Okay.
I don't think he wanted Bravo Pizza, I think it was like Bravo Pizza and those stores over there not having outside seating at that time. I think that's what he was trying to stop.
Okay.
But this is essentially changing the zoning ordinance from having to pass the resolution every year.
Right.
So why not remove it? There's no reason for it to be there.
I mean, I'm just asking, I don't know that that's necessary personally.
Yeah, you
Um,
can make the recommendation, by all means, it's on the table, you can make the recommendation, it has to go it will get, ultimately, it gets adopted by the board of supervisors. So the board of supervisors, recommended it going in front of the planning commission as is and going to the Chester County Planning Commission as is. So if you would like to make recommendations, by all means, this is the time to do it.
Under B4, it's on page 3. D, it says, where there's an outdoor cafe. Oh, I see. It says, I'm sorry, then never mind. It says in a public sidewalk or open right of way. I was thinking if it's on private property, you're gonna dictate what their trash cans look like. It's kind of stupid, but that's not it. The other thing was that they cannot use disposable plates, napkins, or glasses in an outdoor cafe. I think that is, obviously might be preferred, but I don't think that's realistic. People use paper napkins all the time.
Yeah, I understand.
Berwyn Tavern uses plastic things with a paper in it. So, this is, I don't think that is,
Yeah, well, that was Gene too. He wanted to,
yeah, I don't think.
he wanted to have a certain look when it was on the sidewalk.
I just don't think you can
You're right.
regulate that.
No,
I don't
it's
think
not reasonable. 'Cause
I
you're
don't
gonna
think
break
that's
stuff.
reasonable
It doesn't
to
work.
Stacy, you suggesting the whole line or just the?
I think the entire E should be removed. Okay,
That's.
Is that for trash regions? You think it's in there?
what's that?
You think it's in there for trash reasons?
Yeah, it just, I reread it and it said uniform trash receptacles, but that's only if they are.
No,
on the
I'm talking
side,
about E.
Not
Disposable
necessarily.
plates, napkins, and glasses. I think the main reason behind that would be that it's much easier to create trash and leave it outside if it's not a ceramic plate or a glass. Are they just trying to combat the potential for paper plates and napkins being all over the street?
I understand that, but I don't think it's I don't think it's realistic to expect a outdoor cafe to be required to have cloth napkins because everybody uses paper.
Yeah.
That's all. Hold on, I just read this.
It's certainly realistic. It just costs more money. That's all it does.
Well, why do we want the township to have to?
No, I'm just saying, I mean,
If somebody says.
it's certainly realistic. Whether you want to spend the money on cloth napkins or not is up to the restaurant.
Colleen, is there anything that precludes the supervisors from approving this every year? Aside from just a formality, like,
Of doing the omnibus on an annual basis?
just like, why? Why do we have to put this in the zoning code instead of just for them just to renew it every year?
Because every year we have to renew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And restaurant people would be able to plan for it, right? We put it in the zoning ordinance.
I get that, but my concern is with some of these. With like the 4 foot. They need to have the tables, but there still needs to be the 4 foot thing. In particular with Berwyn, if we're gonna be trying to make pedestrian improvements and we go and enact this ordinance, is that gonna hinder us at all?
Could always amend it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It could limit certain areas right now that have narrow sidewalks that may not be able to have an outdoor cafe because they're not gonna have the walkway. And truly, the walkway is the predominant use of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But if they have a wide enough sidewalk, then yeah, you can put a seat out there, and if somebody wants to sit there, I think that works. The only other thing I would put on here is in under 5, it says where the outdoor cafe is not proposed to occupy public sidewalk, the cafe shall be separated from parking or traffic flow by fencing or buffering. That's fine. However, in any location where an outdoor cafe is not separated from the flow of traffic or parking areas, no table shall be located within the 6 feet of curb or the boundary of that, whichever is closer. That is very confusing to me what they mean by that. If if you've added a buffering, if you've added a buffer, which could be a planter, then
Wait, 6 feet of.
that's what I mean, like,
So I mean, I
I'm
see
reading
it
this going,
right now,
I'm
that-
a hard
If you
time.
violate the first sentence, the
Yes.
second sentence applies, they contradict, I agree. I hear what you're
There's, that does not,
There's no
that, I
like.
can't
provision
vision
about
what
first.
that is trying
Which
to tell me
curb,
to
like the
do.
parking, like where you pull into the parking
Exactly,
curb?
this is
Oh,
my
okay.
problem, I can't envision what they're saying.
I think it's where you.
I
pull
think
in.
that needs to be looked at, that
This
section.
language is fine in an annual resolution authorizing a specific type of outdoor dining, particularly in the context of global pandemic.
Yeah,
But for a codified ordinance language,
That
doesn't
needs to be
make sense.
changed, right.
You can't do one thing in the first sentence and then something different in the second.
correct.
I think they kind of put them both together.
Well, and it makes sense because you'd be addressing situations that exist in real life,
Right,
not
yeah.
just, you have to give Colleen or Jane.
I don't know if it's
something
still
right.
around, but what we originally wrote with Gene for 30 Main is probably still in the file somewhere. It did not include the pandemic
The-
text.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, no, I
Those
don't,
are my only,
that's
Yeah.
where this came from.
those are my only concerns about this, outdoor cafe language.
Sure.
You just remove the second sentence of that.
I don't know, that's a problem, I don't know what the point of that is.
Yeah,
And maybe there's a way to make it so that it's protecting someone, but it's not
right.
doing a good job on that. That sentence is, it's gonna be very confusing. So are we supposed to vote on this tonight? What's our objective on this?
I think we
Yeah.
need to do something.
Yeah, you have to make a recommendation.
Adoption or not adopt, I guess.
We have to discuss the meadow.
No, that's not a zoning issue.
I think we need clarification. Okay, I would propose that if we adopt this, we have to look at B2 and understand why 10-person minimum is there, and if it's avoiding a food truck, then let's just say you can't have a food truck with outdoor seating or something. I think 4E is get rid of disposable plates and napkins. I don't think you can regulate that, and I don't think you don't want to regulate that. And then 5, that needs to be rewritten to make sense.
Can we recommend those 3 edits?
I think with those edits, we could,
I'd be on board with that.
okay.
I'd rather just see napkins eliminated, not plates. I don't have a problem with glass plates, real plates out there.
Sorry, but I think you need to add that you need
You do, I mean, you could,
LCD approval. If you're selling liquor. Which it just should be in the township information, you know what I mean, that we should give you something from the LCB, because we have to give the LCB something from the township.
If they're serving liquor
If they're serving
in the
liquor,
outdoor cafe, that the provider has to provide the township with a
Right,
certificate from the LCD.
yeah, well, it's kind of like, it goes together, right, the LCB wants to see the township
Okay.
said it's okay, and the. You know, so I think you did, you know. I don't wanna make it more difficult for me.
When you're doing it, are you altering your licensed premises? or-
Yeah, you have to, anywhere where you're selling alcohol, it has to be licensed. It has to be in connection with the front door, the back door, and all that stuff. So they have to, so when you have to renew it every year, you actually have to go back in front of the LCD every year.
Another good
So
reason.
that's why I kind of quit
Yeah.
doing it, because it was a pain.
Paragraph 6 covers that. It says you have to maintain all state and local.
Yeah, but I have to put a license in the window every year when I wanna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, then everyone thinks it's for sale and we're going out of business. I mean, like, I've heard it all. So if we just do it once and for all, that'd be great.
Or by codifying this and making, you know, the street dining and stuff. You know, like an allowable use like by right or whatever. Is this going to preclude us from making those pedestrian improvements that we potentially might be making in Berlin down the line? Is this hinder us at all?
Well, it depends on. First, it depends on what those improvements actually are.
Yeah.
Right, but to the extent that they're gonna include things like widening a sidewalk, this would actually. You're making space for that to occur, basically. You could always, if it came to the point where you realize that these two things are just not compatible with each other, the street improvements and the sidewalk dining, you could eliminate this from the ordinance at that point. So you do modifications to align it at that point. But I wouldn't see this precluding anything that the township might want to pursue. You just might have to take the step of modifying it at that time.
And actually, it does say that if the township determines that the use is detrimental to health, safety, or general welfare, they can give 30 days notice, and that person would have to remove their outdoor cafe.
For a comment, so presumably outdoor dining is occurring maybe on the sidewalk, so could there be I haven't read the document, so. Could it be that you'd have to maintain a minimum 48 inch?
Yeah, it's 48
It's a
inch.
48-inch
Okay, that's in there.
walkway.
Yeah, it's already, yeah.
Then I
Yeah.
think is covered. In terms of people's ability to travel.
I'm just a little concerned about that. The 48 inches being pushed as close to the street as possible right now. When there might be 60 inches and the kids might be walking closer to the buildings and now they're.
That's a good point.
You
It
know,
was actually to the, I found out the hard way, it's to the curb, right? So it's like but it's the inside of the curb, not all the way to the curb, so it's actually 44 inches.
Yeah.
Or whatever, so it's. And along Route 30 where we are, where that's a concern, we don't even put tables there, because it's just not worth it.
It's not wide enough.
No, but like Fellini's has his in the front there, that's fine, yeah, not the diner. Your shopping center up there, that's not a problem, so. You know, it doesn't seem like it'd be an issue.
Well, and again, the township can
Yeah.
tell them they can't do it if
Yeah.
they find it detrimental.
Can I just add one more thing?
Sure.
Generally throughout, I'm seeing particularly at B3. It says outdoor cafe uses shall stop serving customers on or before 9 PM prevailing time on Sunday through Thursday. That's all good. It needs to be limited to the outdoor cafe portion because our tavern and bar friends will still want to serve after 9 o'clock PM indoors. So like it needs, if the service stops outside, you need to clarify.
So they have to
that.
clarify
Yeah.
outside.
you're right.
Okay.
Doesn't it say that by saying outdoor cafe uses?
So the outdoor cafe uses shall stop serving customers.
Right.
Yeah, the outdoor cafe use is actually the whole restaurant. It's not just the outdoor cafe.
It's just a legal
Section.
technical term.
Yeah.
So you'd have to qualify that the service to the outside.
No, outdoor cafe use is an accessory use to the building. It's a separate use from the building. It does have
It's an
nothing to do
accessory
with.
use. to the
Yeah,
building.
yeah. So it has nothing to do with what's going on in the building.
You can't do it unless you do what's inside. That's what an accessory use is. It's related to the primary use.
So the accessory, what needs to be clarified is the accessory use.
Yes, you could. You
Just
could
not
drop
accessory use of the outside use.
that particular.
Has time limits
Right, yes.
versus the use of the building.
Right.
Yeah,
I
it's-
can
it
plainly
could've just
read
been a
that.
typo.
That's what it says. Whatever.
It could have just been a typo, right?
Candles at
No, no.
9. Some neighbor come out and say, candles needs closed.
Could you clarify where you ended up with that? I
Cafe,
couldn't hear the attorney.
Service.
What did you say about the accessory use?
Because technically you can sit in that plaza any time of the day or night.
Yeah.
An outdoor cafe is an accessory outdoor area of an associated restaurant or cabin, including business, retail, or commercial principal uses with restaurant or tavern components otherwise actively operating and authorized as the principal use, directly abutting the building in which the principal use is located on the same lot as the principal building in use, and or on the public sidewalk, open areas, or right of way abutting such lot, subject to this section. So it's an accessory use. It does not have to do with seating. It's a
Use of space.
it's a space.
Yeah.
The way that this is defined, it's a space. It's not
But that's a
actually-
plaza that is not part of their lease.
I fully agree, I'm just saying, don't give people ammo.
So I'm just telling you.
If you give them the ammo, who you,
And they're not serving customers outside, they're out the window, so I don't know. I think do you get a complaint, because you're gonna get more complaints about live music than you are gonna get complaints about someone getting a BLT at 9:15.
oh, I agree, well, live music is a whole other issue, so that doesn't actually
100%.
prevent live music. Under
It doesn't
that
say
one.
anything.
Right, that's what I'm saying, so I don't. That's a whole different issue.
But we should make sure that that's clear,
Yeah.
that they can still serve inside.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I might also suggest that they review the definition of outdoor cafe. Because I understand what they're trying to accomplish, but if I were reading this critically as an opposition attorney, it would be some gaps in this. Because it's not actually saying what you can do there. It says it's an area, but it should describe.
It needs to have a little more definition.
Yeah.
Okay. So who makes those changes or makes those evaluations? Cause I don't know that we should suggest it, because this is now like 5 different things, which really should be clarified better.
It's a matter of, if the planning commission wants to make recommendations, to adopt the ordinance with the revisions. Or you don't wanna support the revisions to the outdoor ordinance. And you wanna continue having them, pass the resolution. So you can make a motion to say, the planning commission recommends updating the zoning code for outdoor cafes, contingent upon the following revisions, right? So you could say that, or you could say you don't want, the planning commission makes a motion to not recommend the changes and have further evaluation of the code before adopting, something along those lines. So it's up to
Which
what.
the edits, yes, I have the edits listed. So, let me just make sure I've got them all here. I've got B2, minimum 10-person seating, should be explained why or removed. 4E,
Can you just recite them when I make the motion? Like subject to can you just recite that, or do I need to say it?
you can just say I move, so moved after I say this. So, so yeah, B2, minimum 10-person seating removed. 4E, there was some discussion, I don't know that we have a consensus on the commission yet as to what disposable items need to be removed. But 4E, there was certainly consensus around napkins being removed. Do we want to pause on that one?
Let's pause and decide.
I'm in favor of removing all of it.
I would remove all of it.
I'm in agreement.
Chris?
He's not.
Oh, he's not on there now?
No, he would like just napkins removed.
I see.
think he's-
Okay.
So. We'll put all of it in the motion for
Okay.
this.
Okay.
It's also possible, because you're a commission, you can give a minority report as well. You can say, one of the commissioners indicated that he would support only removing napkins.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
That's
I would
fine.
just eliminate 4A.
Let's do that.
I'm fine with eliminating 4A.
There's no Chris's opinion.
Make sure I get the right section here. 5. Yeah, subsection 5. Relating to buffering and fencing should be clarified.
Yeah.
And then the definition of outdoor cafe, in section 1,
Needs to be tightened up.
needs to be revised, clarified.
And the last thing was B3.
And this one, B3,
Is
yes,
separating the outdoor cafe accessory use from the primary use.
to permit service.
To
after
permit
9 p.m.
service after hours designated.
So those are the recommended changes.
So move.
I'll second it.
Any public comment? Board, Nikki, any comments?
No comment.
No
Good.
comment.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Carries. All right. 2026 initiative discussion.
All right, I'm gonna leave this, I know it's getting late, so. We typically do this time of year for the initiatives that the planning commission likes to give. For the following year, for the budgeting I know last year we had a handful, but it was just bullet points. This year we only have 3, but I got 5 pages on here because I asked the ped bike, our workshop group, which kind of incubator, coming up with ideas for, improvements for the township related to planning. I asked the committee to provide more, feedback or more information on why we're looking at this initiative. So the first one, and we're recommending, 3 initiatives. And then the last page has it's sort of the prior, initiatives that are under planning, and design and others that are in other discussion, so we don't really have to, that's just for informational purpose. So the first one is to, number 1, first page is to look to install crosswalk on Berwin Pioli Road at Glen Ave on the eastern leg of the intersection. With the planning commission on the second page, you kind of drew an area where there's a pump station there. They're doing some renovations there. And there was an existing sidewalk there and they're updating it. That is different township. The line is in that area. They're coming 7 or so feet short of Berlin Pale Road. We think this is a good opportunity to actually put a crosswalk there and work with 2 different township to see if they can extend the sidewalk to the curb. And if you, by doing so, you can have a full connection from the Daleford station to Umley. So, most of the information I provided is more background on that, but, that's one of our initiatives. It's and like I said, it's something that we want just to, either somebody to review or study a little further.
Yeah.
The second one is, it's more related to the work that Bowman is doing. I don't know if,
That Bowman's doing, right? Yeah.
yes. So it is, again, this is the Lakeside and Old Lancaster Road improvements. At the Amtrak Tunnel and Francis Ave circulation study. So again, it's the whole Lakeside. We're not just looking at Lakeside, we're looking at the whole circulation, around the tunnel area. And, we also feel like, Bowman did mention they may not be under contract to really look into the exact, location that we've identified in our drawing here on page 4. But we feel that, this is kind of important, and then whatever Bowman's doing, we're not sure how long some of those improvements will come. We feel like this is something that should be maybe looked at, a little more, at an earlier stage. And I think the folks here have already mentioned that there's some importance in that. And then the third one is actually at the intersection of Lancaster as a missing. It's at the intersection basically, and that one and it's called Lakeside and Old Lancaster Improvement. I'm sorry. Lancaster Ave, Lakeside, Midland, improved pedestrian crossing facility. So, we all know that there's been a 4-legged intersection crossing.
Yeah.
And because of the, I think with the proposed Trader Joe's coming, and then the Eden property on the other side, there's additional pedestrian generators. I think this is kind of critical with all the school kids walking on Fridays, and I know Bowman identified that, but I feel like this should be more something the township should look into a little more for the early action.
Yeah.
Can I offer a comment on that one?
Sure.
So I think there are actually today 3 pedestrian crossings, and the only leg that's missing is the west leg of Route 30, and I know Berwyn Square is supposed to be putting in that fourth and final crossing, so you will get pedestrian crossings around the intersection whenever Berwyn Square comes, but
And there's been talk too about the township doing it ahead of time and then reimbursing them for the crosswalk. There wasn't.
The issue is
that.
the reason I bring it up is there is a design in place, right?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, no, I think we understand that, but it's
Okay.
been, what, is 4 or 5 years since they've had the permits and nothing's been.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's why.
Answer's nothing.
And that's why Stacy mentioned if there can be done something early and reimbursed, and anything that can be done that doesn't go against what they're gonna do as well. So it just needs to be studied further, and maybe maybe not study and actually do something there. Yeah, so those are the three initiatives that we're making.
I know it was mentioned on our report, but the section of sidewalk that's missing from. In front of the train station. Yeah,
The go.
No, in front of the, the go path.
the go path in front, I mean, that's just dreadful, right? That's just an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Somewhere along there, I would love that to be looked at sooner rather than later, because we know what has to, we know something has to be done, it's gonna be a big project. So it's like one of those 3-year things, we spend a year doing engineering.
That's at all. It's not a,
Right.
it's not a walkway. Just
But
people use,
people use it that way.
fence it off. They shouldn't be using it. Cross the street, walk it, use the sidewalks. I mean, that's.
Cause that works really well. People don't pay attention.
I know.
We're gonna,
Like,
there is a blind guy with a cane that goes down that goat path. I mean,
no,
people,
I know.
yes,
Tucker.
he goes, I've seen
And it's a
him
walk.
walk down that path.
It's a walking bridge at
It
the end
needs
of
to
it.
be, and there's a
Yeah.
walking bridge there. You need,
Yeah.
and you have this
Yeah, you
beautiful
walk there.
sidewalk in front of Fritz and
Well,
nothing.
that, yes.
Well, you
That's different.
could, I mean, other
Yeah.
than crossing Lancaster, which
Sure.
makes the most sense, can't you continue down by the train station and through the
Nobody
train
does.
station
Yes,
parking
you can,
lot?
but
But
nobody
you-
does.
But
But if
they're
you
not, and they're
block
not.
off the goat path, maybe they would.
Go path is in a sector right away.
Is that-
or
I assume
like-
No, that's
Isn't it like
Probably
it's
said that
driving
right
right
away.
away?
We might not have to worry about it. That train station might be being involved, so.
Right. That's an intercepted putting out of all the train stations.
Yeah.
Every suburban station, train station is available for bid right now,
Available for what?
bidding. Except their own money.
Our one.
So I mean, I'm in support. of Maybe even adding that to the list if that's a priority, you know,
Yeah, and it could just be a simple study to what are the possibilities, but
yeah.
we gotta get started because.
I think it helps I think that connects things. And the safety factor of it
Mm.
is huge.
I mean, didn't you get money for the train stations? You got money for Devon, right?
I would think we'd be eligible for some sort of grant because it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, is there something available, like any
Walkways
sidewalk
into,
grant or whatever?
you
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
public
The
transportation.
sidewalks we're doing in Berlin are done through grants.
Maybe that Delaware Valley Kids School could pay for that. That's in lieu of with that.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same.
It costs this much to build a sidewalk and we get this much at the end of there.
It
It's
doesn't.
well, you gotta, that thing is a drop off. I mean, we watch people slide.
Yeah, that's not gonna be your usual.
No, you have to, there's all kinds of problems with
Yeah,
it.
I get it, all my
That's
snow.
the times.
But it's doable. It's an engineering problem. It's not a.
That's all it is an engineering problem. You need to build a retaining wall.
We
you
had
need
the
to-
right of way, thought it was.
Well, he
I think
stepped
that's
over.
that is right, it's.
Well, I'm assuming it's been out right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which
The only
better-
reason I say no is I thought this problem would have been solved before if it was, but we should look into it.
Yeah, it's not an easy sidewalk to build. You don't have
No.
width for
Very,
a
very
full
expensive.
sidewalk in that area. You probably have width for maybe a 2 to 3 foot sidewalk, which really is not a sidewalk that PennDOT consider a sidewalk. So I'm not sure that they would allow it. It's not to say we can't try, but beyond building anything wider than 2 to 3 feet there is gonna require
Yes.
impacts to the
Yes,
system.
and let's do it.
There's a yes, we should. There's a retaining wall that's necessary. They have to raise up a fire hydrant. They need some, we'll put lighting on there.
It sounds like SEPTA might be willing to entertain our offer to purchase some ground from them, so, you know. And it may be the case that originally, when they did that project. They certainly looked at, hey, what would it take to put sidewalk up Route 30, and they decided to build the ramp system that we see there now, so, yeah, it must be a pretty significant undertaking.
It will be a significant, I think it's
But
a sorely needed sidewalk.
Right, but a significant number divided by 100 years of use is not that significant a number.
I mean, if you
Sidewalk
do-
from The bridge.
Have a lane reduction, I mean, you could have some. Train station. You know, go toward the cart back to the road, but we don't know that until further study.
Right.
Right, none of that's been looked at.
Yeah.
We did, so I agree with that. We did talk. I think the issue with Berwin Square is the development agreement hasn't been recorded yet. We could try to amend the development agreement to effectively add whatever the cost of that crossing is, building permit, and we put it in, and they don't have the obligation to put it in. I know we discussed that maybe a year ago. You do have, I don't know if, I don't know if that'll be done, reaching out to the developer, how that conversation gets started. And then you do potentially lose that for the better part of 2 years, if and when construction actually happens.
If we do
But
it,
you're going to lose that any sidewalk any,
if we do it, it's much more expensive than the developer does it.
yes.
Colin, do we have to, vote on?
This is just a draft, so next month at the September meeting, hopefully we'll have a final list that you can vote on, which will go into the Board of Supervisors packet.
And I think the board here, if they have other things that they feel like are priority, we can bring that up as well, but this is what the,
All those are great. What if on like Old Lancaster Avenue, we did what they do at the airport, where they like raise the crosswalk, so it one slows traffic, but then it also creates a very obvious, because we tried to stripe it and got in trouble with the police because they said we couldn't have a crosswalk there.
Yeah, I think all of these are good ideas for Old Lancaster. The one way is kind of an interesting idea to me. It's intriguing. I think that requires some evaluation. I love doing, whether it be raised crosswalks, raised intersection, but we need to really change the character of Old Lancaster Road. It's as much a pedestrian way as it is a vehicle way.
100%. The thing is, we can't wait 10, 20 years for that. You're gonna kill somebody.
No, I think
I
this is
know,
gonna
but
happen
somebody's
sooner
gonna
than that, but that would be like, that's a quick fix, that something could, that actually makes a significant difference.
Oh, yeah.
That would go to the main entrance and to like your entrance. Those are the two doors that get used.
All those cameras though.
Like you said, quick
Cameras
fix.
everywhere. It doesn't matter. All you're doing is,
But you're saying quick fix, but he's saying it's part of that, like, if we're waiting for everything he's doing, it seems like it's like a 20-year thing. We
Well, I-
need a quick fix.
no, I don't think that's it. I think the
No,
problem is in the township. The way I would do it, Art DeSolis would be down there tomorrow and we would do this, and then I would hear from the township. They wouldn't be happy about that. But the point is though, private, sometimes if you do some private and public, like partnership in this, maybe we can get it done much faster.
Yeah.
But that definitely would slow traffic.
I think it's great.
I do too.
Means
Tell somebody.
anything. Anything, like I said.
Yeah.
100%, because they're just running over the signs.
Yeah, I know. I know.
So, better a sign than a person though, because it's gonna happen.
100%,
I'm guaranteed it's gonna.
You're like my mother, she told me something's gonna happen and it happens the next day.
See it every day on there,
You better be careful.
every day.
The Italian.
It's
The scope of.
That's on.
I didn't.
Base of it's potentially it's.
To the team.
Stage.
Do we need to end the meeting? Are we done?
So are we done the initiative discussions? Any
Yes.
comments on the initiative discussions?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
People
Coming to.
Comments?
Any comments? Yeah, I guess just do public comments.
Old Fritz building.
All right, does anybody have any public comment on this initiative discussion? Next item of business is public comment. Any public comment? No public comment? Nobody online?
Alright.
All right, announcements. Next meeting, September 2nd, day after Labor Day, right? Did everybody that?
We know how to pick them.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone.